Good morning. Peace to all the guys and goddesses. You are listening to High Frequency Radio. I'm your host, Yusef. It is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2013, broadcasting live from southern sunny California. Got a real good show lined up for you today. Already this morning, I'm kind of got off to a bad start this morning. I'm sitting here going through my Facebook, looking at some stuff. Okay, we got it straight. So somebody was trying to say that I'm lying to my people. I'm like, man, what is? I said, here is the phone number. If I'm lying to my people, call in, please. So we can get to the business. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm gonna go in deeper today. We're gonna talk about some stuff. The name of this show today is State versus State, Citizens versus Citizens. Now, this is gonna be like a real in-depth type of study session that I'm going to do with y'all this morning. I'm gonna take some calls afterwards, but we're gonna go in because I want you to understand this public and private thing. Because like this audio that you just got to listen to when he got pulled over by the police, he's outside the car. They asked him, did he have his driver's license? He said, of course. And then, he's talking about Constitution. A lot of people out there talking about constitutional rights. They keep talking about the Constitution, all this right here. And you don't have it. The Constitution won't apply to you, but I can understand why people are confused with it. So today, we're going to go in a little bit on, we're going to talk about the Constitution a little bit today. We're going to talk about the Judiciary Act of 1789. We're going to talk about Yusef. You were born. We're going to get into some status conversation today. All that. We're going to talk about all that today. All that. Okay. But before I begin, I'd like to make a couple announcements. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing a little webinar. We're going to be going over some documents. We're going to be specifically going over the administrative process. That's what I'm going to be going over with individuals. Administrative process. I get a lot of calls about administrative process, what to do in court. Everybody wants my personal attention and all this right here. So I'm going to go in. Tomorrow afternoon, we are going to do a webinar on creditors and their bonds, but in particular, we're going over the administrative process. I'm also going to do a webinar on verification of debt requests. I'm going to let y'all watch me on the screen, draw up a verification of debt from scratch. I'm going to let y'all watch me on the screen do an administrative process from scratch. I'm also going to show you how the administrative process looks from beginning to end. Now, what I'm going to be showing y'all, I used to charge people a nice grip for. All right, when I first started doing this. So, it's going, now you just did it for pennies. I'm going to show you how to do this thing. You can do it yourself, all right? So we're going to be doing all that tomorrow. Friday, I got some special guests that are going to be on the show. Frank Ozak and Gwen Wyckoff. You can go in the archives. You can see it. We're going to be discussing common law trust. I know we got a lot of cats out there that want to, put together trust and, all these different things. We're going to get into some discussion about these trusts. There's guys out there, they're putting together the Declaration of Trust and the trust indentures, and they throwing some things together. A couple of y'all going out to calling Philadelphia, getting you a 98 number and all these things right here, and you think magic is supposed to occur. So we're going to address some of that on Friday. Should be a very, very good show. Make sure you tune in on Friday for that information. On today's show, though, I'm going to start out with some status issues. And in particular, I want to get to the meaning of some words. I was perusing through my Cooley Blackstone, and, I came across a section that talks about rights of persons and the king's revenue, all right? And in a Cooley Blackstone, when you see them talking about the king, how you relate that today, you relate that to the United States. The United States is like the king in when you look at the Old English laws, because the United States adopted all these Old English laws. So Congress is like the king today. And I'm going to talk about this birth certificate a little bit, and I want y'all to think about what I'm about to say and listen to it very closely. I'm going to read you something. It's called custody of non-compos person. Now, non-compos mentis means an incompetent person, somebody who is incompetent. Now, I want to remind everybody that to learn this stuff requires you to have a shift in your paradigm. You got to do not assume that you know the meaning of words. Always be on guard against that. That's the number one thing I want to inject into everyone is do not think you know the meaning of the word. We have been taught incorrectly. All right? We've been taught incorrectly. Even common day, everyday words that we use, we don't really know the meaning of. Automatically, like the Messiah said in the Bible, you have to be reborn again. You have to become as little children. Wipe your slate clean, get all the trash out, come as a little child. It's time to unlearn what you have learned. We got to learn some new things, okay? Now, let's get to the business. Let me read this to you. And I'm going to try to put this in contemporary terms. But it's custody of non-compos persons. It says, I proceed, therefore, to the 18th and last branch of the king's ordinary revenue, which consists in the custody of idiots, from whence we shall be naturally led to consider also the custody of lunatics. An idiot or natural fool is one who have no understanding from his nativity. Now, that sentence right there has so much stuff in it that you can assume that you know the meaning of that you don't know the meaning of. Namely, I'm going to point them out. Natural fool, understanding, nativity. Those are some words, we think, natural fool, of course, we think, like you're a damn fool. Understanding, we use that word every day. Well, do you understand or do you not understand? Let me start out with that word understanding, because I know a lot of people out there think they know what that word means, understanding. So I said, let's look at that. Let's look at that word. So I went and got a trusty 4th edition Black's Law, because, they're going to lie to you. They're going to lie to you in modern times. And I went and looked this word up. And it was very interesting what I found. And I'm going to read it to you. It says, understanding. Look what it has right there in the law of contracts. It falls under contract law. So understanding falls under contract law, and contract law is on the private side. It's on the private side now, okay? In the law of contracts, an agreement, an implied agreement resulting from the express terms of another agreement, whether written or oral. A valid contract engagement of a somewhat informal character. This is a loose and ambiguous term unless it be accompanied by some expression to show that it constituted a meeting of the minds of parties upon something respecting which they intended to be bound. The term may also import simply a wish or a hope, as in a will, bequeathing property to another with the understanding that the legatee's death, all property derived under the will should be given to the testatrix's sister. Now, let me say this. I came a while ago under the assumption that everybody out in society should at least have a will. And I'm going to pass this information to you, too. When I first got involved in this, some people who knew some things, they told me that the people who really know this information, when their children are born, they filed paperwork at 7 different agencies in Washington, D.C. And I thought that was real interesting. After I read this, when it says, have no understanding from your nativity. Now let's look at nativity. That is another interesting word that I think you're going to find very interesting. And we're also going to talk about the word natural fool. But let's look at nativity. The first one is one born in bondage. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Native is one born in bondage. But first one is the birth of Christ, of the Virgin. And then it's the church festival. But then we finally get to birth considered astrological, or birth as determining nationality. Now, indigenous, but the root of the word is bondage, which I thought was very, very interesting. Now, let me go to this word natural fool before I get into what I want to talk about. When we look up this word natural fool, a person born without understanding, a born fool or idiot, sometimes in the old books called unnatural, using just the word natural. And I thought that was very interesting. How in antiquity that the word natural denoted a damn fool or just a natural fool. Now, let me finish reading this, and then I'm going to explain it, because this is what's going on with the birth certificate today, because you are looked at as incompetent. It's a presumption until it's rebutted. It is a presumption based off the fact that your parents are slaves, and this is a slave child that's being born. Pay attention. An idiot or natural fool is one that have no understanding from his nativity, and therefore is by law presumed never likely to attain any, for which reason the custody of him and of his lands was formerly vested in the lord of the fee, and therefore still by special custom and some manners the lord shall have the ordering of idiot and lunatic copy holders. Now, here's an interesting thing, too. The lord of the fee. That's the state today. Because you don't own any property. You don't own any property. The state owns all the property. I'm going to get deep with it. I'm going to get deep with it in a second. Just bear with me. Bear with me. I'm looking up another word real quick, and we'll give you all this real quick. Copy holder. I was looking up copy holder. Copy holder is a tenant by copyhold tenure. Real interesting. Copyhold is a species of estate at will or customary estate. So it's your estate. Now, this is going to get interesting. Watch what it says. It says, but by reason of the manifold abuses of this power by subjects, it was at last provided by common consent that it should be given to the king as the general conservator of his people in order to prevent the idiot from wasting his estate and reducing himself and his heirs to poverty and distress. The fiscal prerogative of the king is declared in Parliament by statute the 7th Edward II, Clause 9, which directs, in affirmance of the common law, that the king shall have ward of the lands of natural fools, taking the profits without waste or destruction, and shall find them necessaries. Now, that word necessaries is I'm always on here talking about. That's what they're doing when they take your birth certificate and they get money in your name. It's for necessaries. Necessaries is a legal term. Let me look it up for you because I know we got some people out there who are riding around and, they don't, know what necessaries is. But it's a very important word for you to understand because a lot of people out there are saying, well, I was born in a contract. I didn't have first-hand knowledge of no contract. You got to be confident and all this type of stuff. And I'm telling all those people, they don't know what they're talking about. You can make a contract with an instant. Yes, you can. In law, you can do it. They've been doing it for a very long time. Very long time. It's not anything new. Because what they're going to do is they're going to provide you with necessaries. And necessaries is an article which a party actually needs, things indispensable or things proper and useful for the sustenance of human life. Necessaries consist of food, drink, clothing, medical attention, and a suitable place of residence, and they are regarded as necessaries in the absolute sense of the word. However, liability for necessaries is not limited to articles required to sustain life. It extends to articles which would ordinarily be necessary and suitable in view of the rank, position, fortune, earning capacity, and mode of living of the husband or father. Now, of course, when you're on your birth certificate, you don't have a father and you become a public charge, so they take and give you a birth certificate, which is an interest in a Cestway Trust, and then they go borrow some money for that to put into circulation for you, so you'll have the necessaries, which are these registered securities, which you call Federal Reserve notes. So when you go out here and get you a job, go to school, need health care, unemployment, disability, welfare, and all these different things, the king, i.e., the state, i.e., the United States, will have everything it needs to provide for your care because you are considered an incompetent and a ward of the state. Now, due to the fact, let's keep going, by the old common law, there is a writ of deodoiata inquirendo. I don't know if I pronounced that right, it's Latin. Of inquiring concerning an idiot. Now, today, they bring you in court and they do what's called a colloquy. It's called a colloquy. That's when they try to determine your competency. It's a competency exam. Now, pay attention to this next part because this is very old, but when you go to your state statutes, when you look at competency hearings, you should see something very similar to what I'm about to read right now. And it says, to inquire whether a man be an idiot or not, which must be tried by a jury of 12 men. Now, I knew this when I went into in the federal jails and also in the state. They try to give you this competency exam, but this competency exam is supposed to be before a jury. The judge is not supposed to arbitrarily make a determination whether or not you're competent or not from the bench. That is for the jury to decide. However, when you're in these proceedings, they don't ever really state the citation. They move by operation of presumption, and you don't ever rebut that presumption. But it's really interesting when you go and study this. Now, I tell you, it says, this branch of the revenue has been long considered a hardship upon private families, and so long ago as in the 8th of Jack I, it was under the consideration of Parliament to vest the custody in the relations of the party and to settle an equivalent of the crown in lieu of it, it being then proposed to share the same fate with the slavery of the feudal tenures, which has been since abolished. Now, I want y'all to understand that our society today is being patterned after feudalism. It's not called that, but it's patterned exactly after that, what you're living under. Which brings us into this thing of state and citizen and citizen. I'm going to start with the Judiciary Act. I'm going to start with the Judiciary Act because I want people to understand the court system and how the federal government operates. This is important if you're going to understand your nationality, all right? When you're trying to obtain your nationality, you need to know who you are, vice the federal government. A lot of people out there, a lot of patriots, a lot of people fighting foreclosures, they don't have a clue. The first indication that you know a person that does not have a clue is when they say my constitutional rights. Every time I just ball up with chagrin every time I hear someone say that. Oh, my constitutional rights have been violated. That is an individual, and they know it too. When you say that, they have a clear understanding in their mind that they're dealing with an individual that does not know who he is and has been thoroughly trained and fooled and is a obedient serf that they can pull out their batons and beat the shit out of. All right? I'm going to tell you just like that. Now, and by the way, I get people saying they want to be on the class tomorrow. Send me an email. I'll be sending out tonight an email giving the time for the class, all right? Now, let me start with this Judiciary Act, because what I want people, we're going to do is keep in your mind public and private. Public is the government, private is you, right? You would call private the land of God, call public the land of government. Let's look at it like that. Label public, government, private, God. All right? Let's do it like that. You know, if you're going to either operate under God's laws or you're going to operate under governmental laws. Now, let me go to the Judiciary Act. Of 1789. Now, I want people to understand something because this is the word game, the words of art that they're going to use. I'm giving you a code. We're cracking the code. You have to understand every time you see the word act, A-C-T, that is something that's been promulgated by the legislature for the legislature. It only has force and effect within the realm of what the power of the legislature. It has nothing to do with the executive branch of government. It has nothing to do with the judiciary, which is Article 3. It don't have nothing to do with Article 2 or Article 3. We straight talking about Article 1. Think of it like this. You the king of your castle, you in your house. You got kids. You tell everybody they got to be in bed at 8 o'clock. That you are the legislature. That is the law in your house. You don't have no power outside of your house. You can't come in my house and tell my kids when to go to bed. But you can tell your kids when to go to bed in your house. So we can address everything that is in the house of the legislature. This is called separation of powers. You have to understand separation of powers. We are in the house of the legislature right now. We're not going nowhere. Don't think about Obama. Don't think about the Supreme Court. Just think about Congress and the House of Representatives. That's all we're talking about right here, okay? Let me get that clear. Now it says the United States Judiciary Act of 1789, and let me put this in the chat room. I'm reading this off Wikipedia, too. I'm reading it straight off Wikipedia. There's a link in the chat room if y'all want to follow along. But the Judiciary Act of 1789 was a landmark statute adopted on September 24, 1789, in the first session of the First United States Congress. It established the U.S. federal judiciary. Now, Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution prescribed, which means limited, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and such inferior courts as Congress saw fit to establish. Now, when you read that in Article 3, Section 1, when it says, and such inferior courts as Congress saw fit to establish, is letting you know that there's another court system. And that court system is what is being referred to in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 9, where Congress can constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court. So I'm putting it in your mind, they got two different court systems here, okay? Congress has a court, and the Supreme Court has a court. The Supreme Court's job is just to make sure that none of the other two branches violates the Constitution. They just watchdogs. That's all they are. That's all they doing. They just watchdogging over everybody, making sure, look, don't violate nobody's constitutional rights. You know what your limits are. Don't go outside those limits. And every time you go outside those limits of the Constitution, our job in the judiciary is to check your ass and strike it down. That's all the Supreme Court does. Now, it made no provision, though. Okay, let me read this again for you. It established the U.S. federal judiciary. Notice it says U.S. federal judiciary. Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution prescribed that the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and such inferior courts as Congress saw fit to establish. It made no provision, though, for the composition or procedures of any of the courts, leaving this to Congress to decide. Now, when you read this, they playing the game with you again. Whenever you see them talk about Supreme Court, they have Supreme as a small s and they have Court as a capital C. When you see a word with a capital letter, it means a particular place or thing. Person, place, or thing. So it's talking about one thing. It's talking about something in particular. It's talking about the Supreme Court, the real court, the only court that really exists is the Supreme Court. Now, when you say it made no provision, though, for the composition of procedures of the courts, you see that they write that with a small c, which means a common noun. You got a proper noun and a common noun. All right, it's talking about Article 1 courts. You got to pay attention to these capital letters. This is why, you'll see a capital S and a small s for state. You'll see a capital C for citizen and a small c for citizen. You'll see a capital C for court, and you'll see a small c for court. This is how they are communicating without the average person being able to perceive what they're saying. And really, it shouldn't be that difficult, because if you got any slight education, you should be able to pick up on this very easily if you had any grammar, because they teach this in high school. No, they teach this in elementary school and junior high school, which goes to show the level. Well, I'm not going to do that today. Anyway. Okay, it said it made no provisions, though, for the composition or procedures of any of the courts, leaving this to Congress to decide. The existence of a separate federal judiciary has been controversial during the debates over the ratification of the Constitution. Anti-federalists had denounced the judicial power as a potential instrument of national tyranny, which is what we're seeing today. These guys knew it was going to happen. These anti-federalists understood that if you give these people this power that's going to be enumerated under the Constitution, they got a potential to abuse it, which is what they're doing right now. What they saw all them years ago in the 1700s, over 200 years ago, is happening. because they understood. All these people they understood law, and they understood the history of what happened in England, because you see, like in this Cooley Blackstone, the same thing happened in England. The legislature took over, and this is what has happened in the United States today. This is why people seem to think we don't have a constitution, because the legislature is exercising its power that was delegated to it under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, under this corporate charter. All right? So you're not under the jury constitution. You're under this federal constitution that acts like a charter for a corporation. Let me try to make it easier to understand. You got to look at Washington, D.C. as its own country. All right, it's its own country. Its job initially, because they had the Articles of Confederation, and they were having problems under the Article of Confederation. The United States didn't have any taxing power. They couldn't get any money from anybody. And they were to act as a representative for this entire continent in international matters. But a lot of the several states was doing their own thing. They wasn't paying nobody because they understood that they were sovereign. New York was its own country. Virginia was its own country. So they sent these delegations for the Continental Congress to get together and say, look, if we're going to do business internationally, we got to represent as one unit. So they came up with the federal government. Now, after they created this federal government, what happened was that they had to create in each of the several states something that would represent the federal government in those several states. And that's why you see state with a small s. They call it a franchise. They call it a franchise when you see it. Each of the states received a franchise from the United States, which is in Washington, D.C. All right? Now, so you have the republic, which is the de jure state, with a capital S, and then you see the franchise that is present in that state with a small s. Now, this is all for conducting business. That is all they're interested in is commerce. This is also why they put these districts everywhere. You have federal districts. Now I'm going to read some citations of authority to you so I don't lose anybody. I hope I'm not losing anybody. Let me read a couple of these things to you. Let me start when I was talking about taxing. It says, the Constitution for the United States of America provided no means of taxing these district citizens. Well, let me go up. I'm getting ahead of myself. I got so much information on this. It's just unreal. It says, the issue as to whether there are different meanings for the term United States and whether there are three different United States operating within the same geographical area and one United States operating outside the Constitution over its own territory in which it has citizens with a small c belonging to said United States were settled in 1901 by the Supreme Court in the case of Dilemma versus Bidwell, 182 U.S. 1, and Downs versus Bidwell, 182 U.S. 244. In Downs Supra, Justice Harlan dissented as follows. The idea prevails with some. Indeed, it found expression in arguments at the bar that we have in this country substantially or practically two national governments. One to be maintained under the Constitution with all its restrictions, the other to be maintained by Congress outside and independent of that instrument by exercising such powers as other nations of the earth are accustomed to exercise. Now, this is why they understand when you say my constitutional rights, they know that you don't understand who you are. Because you start talking about the Constitution, and he just asked you for your driver's license, and on there it says that you are a U.S. citizen, and as a U.S. citizen, you are property of the United States. Let me say that again. If you are a U.S. citizen, you are property of the United States, and this judge just told you right here that Congress operates outside of the Constitution. If you want constitutionally protected rights, you have to be private. You have to be private. You cannot be a U.S. citizen. And being private means that you are not taking any benefits or privileges from the United States government, because they're not going to give you any benefits and privileges unless you are a U.S. citizen. You have to make a decision. Let's keep going. Let me read you some more. It says, the theory of a government operating outside the Constitution over its own territory with citizens, small c, of the United States belonging thereto under Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2 of the Constitution was further confirmed in 1922 by the Supreme Court in Balzac versus Puerto Rico, 258. The Constitution does not apply outside the limits of the 50 states of the Union. Quoting down supra, that under 432, the United States was given exclusive power over the territories and the citizens of the United States residing therein. Here it goes again. The Supreme Court judge is telling you that if you are a U.S. citizen, I'm sorry, you don't have any constitutional protections. So when these guys are in jail, would you please send this to my brothers in jail who are in the law library, that when the Supreme Court looks at standing, status, case, or controversy, they're going to look at your status first. And if your status is not correct, you don't have standing. So they're not even going to get to no case or controversy. They're going to kick it back to you. So the status has to be addressed. The status has to be addressed. The status has to be addressed. If you are a U.S. citizen, you ain't protected by the Constitution. So would you please stop saying my constitutional rights in one breath, and then in the next breath you say you're a U.S. citizen. Now, I got about 30,000 of these things, and let me keep reading. The issue arose again in 1944. In the case of Hooven versus Allison and Company, an Evict Tax Commission of Ohio, 324 U.S. 652, wherein the U.S. Supreme Court stated as follows at page 671 through 672. The term United States may be used in any one of the several senses. It may be merely the name of a sovereign occupying the position analogous to that of other sovereigns in the family of nations. That's what the United States is. It is a sovereign, it is. But so is Virginia. So is North Carolina. So is Florida, Texas, Georgia, New York. It is a sovereign amongst sovereigns. So it has sovereignty over its possession. Let's keep going. It says it may designate the territory over which the sovereignty of the United States extends, or it may be the collective name of the states which are united by and under the Constitution. And that's what United States has two different meanings. It has the meaning of a proper noun, united, and it has the meaning of an adjective, describing, or maybe a verb. I don't know, how all the several states came together under one banner. The court in Hooven Super indicated that this was the last time it would address this issue. It would just be judicially noticed. They don't even want to talk about this no more. The issue arose in Brushberger versus Union Pacific Railroad. In that case, the High Court affirmed that the United States could levy a tax on the income of a non-resident alien when that income derived from sources within the United States. Now, this is going to be another thing. This is where this minimum context comes by, because if you're doing business with anything that they own, they can tax you. And this is where the trust comes in. All you guys out there putting together a trust and don't understand trust management. Because if you don't know how to circumvent these minimum contexts, you're putting together a trust for nothing. Because the taxing authorities are going to come in. And that's why I did a class yesterday on tax, because you got to get a thorough understanding of what a tax is. You taxed when they put you in prison. That's a tax. Everything is a tax. Let's keep going. I want y'all to understand is you have this word state, which is with a capital S, and state with a small s. The state with the capital S is referring to the republic. That is where you want to be. When you do state with a capital S, you're letting the court know that you are talking about a particular place, a particular person, place, or thing. If you write in your document state with a small s, that is a common noun. You could be talking about anything, and they don't know what you're talking about. If you write citizen with a small c, that is going to denote that you are property of the United States. If you write citizen with a capital C, that's a particular person, place, or thing. You're referring to yourself in your de jure, sui juris status as a man of the land in the republic. This is very significant because you're going to see in all these documents you read, you're going to see these. You're going to also see a lot of them using terminology within and without the United States. Everything in these books is talking about either possession of the United States or not. If you are possession of the United States, you fall in their jurisdiction. And you can tell that the states are franchises because when you go get a state driver's license, they ask you if you are a U.S. citizen. That's letting you know that you go into a corporation, a franchise of the United States. That's how you know when you're dealing with these state government officials that you're not dealing with the republic. You're dealing with a franchise corporation that is under the umbrella corporation United States. It's one of its subsidiaries. That's all you're dealing with. And you are contracting with these people. These contracts serve as prima facie evidence that you are a citizen, you are a U.S. citizen or a citizen of the United States, and therefore subject to its laws. Notice I say subject to its laws. And what are its laws? Its laws are found in the United States Code annotated. All those titles that you see. If you want to have constitutional rights, you have to be private. And then the government is going to look at you and say, you know what? You don't need us to take care of you anymore. You become a man. You become competent. You know how to conduct business. You don't need us to do it for you. So now you have the right to carry on your private business any way that you choose. Just make sure that you don't come over here in our business because we have the right to tell you how to we want to do business with you or to conduct business. If you come over and take a benefit or a privilege from us, we got a right to regulate that and tell you how we want to go about it. But if you want to do your own thing, you got to do your own goddamn thing. You can't sit here and talk. Let me just keep going. Let me keep going. Let's go. Let's move on to, and we're going to get into some discussion about income also. But read this thing on the Judiciary Act. Let me read this to you real quick from the Judiciary Act. Provisions of the Act. The Act set the number of Supreme Court justices at 6, 1 Chief Justice, and 5 Associate Justices. The Supreme Court was given exclusive original jurisdiction over all civil actions between states, and they wrote states there with a small s, or between a state and the United States, got state with a small s again, as well as over all suits and proceedings brought against ambassadors and other diplomat personnel, and original but not exclusive jurisdiction over all the cases in which a state was a party in any case brought by an ambassador. The court, now they wrote court with a capital C, was given appellate jurisdiction over decisions of the federal court as well as decisions by state courts, and both of these with a small c, small s, holding invalid any statute or treaty of the United States. Now, or holding valid any state law or practice that was challenged as being inconsistent with the federal Constitution, treaties, or laws. Now, the Supreme Court, all they are interested in is keeping these people in a cage. That's all the Supreme Court do. What they do is they real crafty at getting outside the cage. So the Supreme Court is looking at Congress, say, look, yo, man, you can't do that. You know, the Constitution said that you acting outside of your ambit of delegated authority. The Constitution didn't give you the permission to do that. So then what Congress do, they come back and say, okay, well, the Constitution protect my right to contract unlimited. Because you well know that we got the 14th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment made corporations persons with rights and duties. And as a person, I got a right to contract. Now, I'm going to give some contracts to these people, and we're going to bring them within our insular possession. And once I got them in my house, y'all judges over there can't protect their ass no more. Y'all senators done committed treason against you because they done fooled you in a contract where you don't have protection of the judiciary anymore. And they did it for make slaves, for taxing purposes, to make revenue. And so you would not have any protection of your Supreme Court. So now all of you out there hollering, talking about what a terrible job, what happened to the country, why the Supreme Court justices ain't doing their job, why our congressional leaders aren't representing us or anything like that. And at the end of the day, you need to go to the bathroom and look in the mirror. And look dead in the mirror and look at yourself and think to yourself how irresponsible you have been. See, what we like to do, we always like to blame people. A brother called in yesterday, said something real nice. He said, he was in New York, the brother from New York, he said that we have the power over all things with our mind, how we think. And he's absolutely right. That's where I'm trying to kind of take this show to. Because I've spoken to some attorneys, and they said that's what it is, too. You know, really a lot of people out there complaining about things, but the real ultimate problem is that people don't know how to use their brain. You don't know how to use your power. You got power. You don't need the Bible. You don't need Obama. You don't need anything. You just need to have faith in yourself. You have to understand how the power of thought works and the laws that regulate those powers. That's what they're doing. But right now, I know a lot of people can't believe that, so I'm not going to go into that. But you need to look at yourself. We did this. They're not doing anything wrong. They have circumvented the Constitution by pulling you into a private contract. Contracts have to be private. That's why the Supreme Court justices can't do nothing with them. When it comes into an equity situation, the law of the contract rules. When you go into a court, the judge got his hands tied because there's a contract. And he don't have no authority to even mess with a contract. So if you're fighting a foreclosure, that's why you go in there and try to fight a foreclosure, they try to put the contract on the record. And so you should be objecting. Objection, Your Honor, here say we need someone who can come and testify to the veracity and validity of the contents of those documents. This attorney over here doesn't have firsthand knowledge of anything. He wasn't present at closing when we closed this deal. He has a copy of a document that's not even certified a lot of times. So we need whoever it is who was a party to that particular contract, they need to be present in this court so they can be called as a witness and subject themselves to cross-examination. It's a contract. And in contract, if there's not a law, if the statute or the common law doesn't offer a remedy, then equity is going to step in. And right now, equity has power because there is no money. And this is why it is important for you to do an administrative process, because you have to have clean hands and you have to act in good faith. And that has to be documented, and then you can do a bill in equity and demand a remedy, because they have to give you a remedy. I can't pay for nothing because you didn't give me no money to pay for anything. These promissory notes are registered securities. That's why they want them back. That's why they want a return. They want you to file a return, because promissory notes have to be returned. Just like you're supposed to get your promissory note back when you buy a house. You're supposed to get that back. They want their promissory notes back, too. Those registered securities in your pocket, those Federal Reserve notes, those are registered securities. They're promissory notes. They want them back. They tracking them. So if you're utilizing them, you're conducting business with their property, which I believe constitutes a minimum contact. I think using those Federal Reserve notes, everybody looking at a lot of different things, but using those Federal Reserve notes is one of the main minimum contacts that we ain't addressing, one of the main ones. Let me go to the phones. That's my morning spiel. Let me get on the line and talk to my people. And let's get to the business this morning. All right, we're going to start out in New York. 917 area code, you're on High Frequency Radio. Peace.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm sorry. I got cut off for a second. Go ahead. Yeah, what was your question?
No.
Can you hear me?
I didn't know if I was on.
Yeah, you on.
Okay, yeah, I was just enjoying your civics. I was enjoying the civics lesson. You know, stuff that everybody's supposed to know already. That's right there, right? Been around for years.
Right.
But in reference to that citizen thing, I wouldn't even call myself a citizen at all, capital or not, because once you're a citizen, that means you have a duty and you're giving up rights or privileges. So you're not fully sui juris as a citizen. That's just my take.
Okay, I'm gonna go to what the philosophers, when they were debating all these things, and this go all the way back even to Rome. They got this thing called the social contract, and because you basically are, and if I could be interpreting this wrong, but you're kind of alluding to the fact that you're a man on your own island, you know, and
sui juris, yes.
Yeah, sui juris by one's own right. You have your own right. But what they say is when you come into society, you have to give up a certain amount, not all your rights, a certain amount of your rights to have an orderly society. You know, like
that's
for
when
instance,
you become a citizen. Yeah.
Yeah. For instance, like when we drive these cars, they have to regulate the highways to some degree. There has to be, you know, we can't let people who can't drive on. You know, okay, I got a right. I ain't never took a driver's lesson or anything. I just got a damn right. I'm just going to jump behind the wheel and start driving this car. And you know, when we first started learning how to drive, how nervous that was until you start getting the hang of it and everything. So when we just let people just do this, there would be some sort of chaos. So there has to be some sort of public safety that has to be put in place. So that's basically, so you are citizen in that sense with a capital C, though. You're not subject, you have your own rights, but see what it is, the citizen I'm talking about with this small c is, they make the rules. They making all the rules.
Yeah, you got privileges. When you get naturalized and all that, they make these artificial citizens for that artificial entity. Yeah, definitely. But I put myself on the record as a non-citizen national. You know the significance of that.
Okay.
I'm not in their jurisdiction. I'm a title to the land. So I was here when he came here. So I'm a non-citizen national. I'm de jure, not de facto, and so I want to identify myself as such.
Yeah, and you can identify yourself, and that's why you always hear me talking about private and public, because people can identify themselves in so many different ways, but all those ways they describe fall on the private side. You know, which means that you don't have nothing to do with the government. You know,
unless you use their legal words like resident, things like that.
Yeah, non-resident, alien. Yeah, the word res means thing, and ident means a thing identified. You know,
and also resident. But the legal definition also is someone who's expected to be temporarily in a place or location, like when they have the resident doctors or so forth. So when you let them know you're a resident, you're letting them know you're a foreigner to the land, or you're not, you know, a natural citizen or whatever, you know, a state citizen or whatever of that land. You know, you're passing through. You're a foreigner, and you have the ability to be taxed, like you said. And like you said, it always come down to the Bible. I think it was when he was asking Jesus about, you know, well, who should be taxed or whatever, who should we tax? And he says, give it to Caesar what is Caesar's. But anyway, the foreigner
is the Lord what is the Lord's.
Right. And the law is, when this is your house, you don't pay no tax. You don't owe nothing. You're the creditor because you're giving them. You're allowing them. You know what I mean? So when they're passing through, they got to pay that tax or pay whatever. And if they're doing businesses, yeah, they got to pay whatever. You know?
Exactly. It's just a distinction. I mean, you see this, and the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because when you read these law books, that's what you're constantly going to keep seeing. You're going to see the capital C and the small c, the capital S and the small s. You know, you're going to see this, and people got to see that's how they communicating this thing. That's how they distinguishing between the two.
It's a code. Right?
It's a code.
Use a code to hide things from, you know, right?
It is a code. And that's going to also help you determine when you read all these paperwork that you find on the Internet. Like, you might go on the Internet and see some cat and put together some document. And then when you're reading this document, you see he ain't got his capital C's and small c's in the right place. You know, he ain't describing it properly. His English grammar is horrendous. So now he ain't communicating the right thing to the judge. He's not communicating the right thing to these people. So he's looked at as incompetent. So, you know, these things are necessary for us. We got to write the paper the proper way. You know, you got the rules of English grammar apply. You just cannot just pay them any mind, because that is a language. That's a language. And
only a natural person can write.
Exactly.
That's why
that
is a language. Things handwritten also in your own hand.
I believe in that too. I think handwritten material has the power too. And I don't think you need to write in cursive. I think you need to print whatever it is that you do. You know, you know, you print it. Yeah. Definitely. You handwrite it in print. Not in cursive.
Right.
All right. Everybody's hand went up.
Give us some good information out there today. Like back in school when I was playing hooky or something.
I'm gonna tell y'all, there is a guy. His name is Paul Andrew Mitchell, and he is in Seattle. And this gentleman, that's just all he do. And he got all these citations. And I found his material. And I'm gonna tell you, I found out about this guy. From we were investigating the attorneys in the state of California, because I had a judge tell me in court, you know, I was trying to help somebody in court, and the judge came at me and was like, "Do you have a license to practice law?" You know, they all act like they're gonna arrest me in court. Everybody coming at me. Even the clerk jumped up and started running over at me. Yeah. Where's your license to practice law? You know, you got a license. You know, so everybody, you know, they all, because they mad at me because they're having a hard time with this guy because I've been helping them, and they know I'm helping them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, because I'm coming in court with them and everything, so they say, we know. So the judge stand up. She's standing up at the bench. do you have a license to practice law? And I told her straight up. I said, I wasn't aware that the practice of law could be licensed.
There you go.
And when I said that to her, she felt like a ghost walked over. I said, leave me alone, bitch. Don't start.
That's right. That's right. You straighten her ass right out.
Please don't start, okay? And because she just looked at everybody else, they kind of looking around, but I'm looking at the judge because everybody else didn't understand what I said. She understood what I said.
That's right.
Now, what they will say is, are you giving legal advice? Now, legal is applicable because that's dealing with the small s and the small c when you hear the word illegal. But when we talk about lawful, every private citizen got a right to practice law.
That's right. We're supposed to know the law. We're supposed to be the law. Sui juris.
That's right.
But
we have a
that's right. That's why I say legal or legalities are for lawyers. I deal with lawful.
Exactly. And that's what they said. They say you're giving legal advice. That's what you hear them say.
No, I'm not.
No, that's what I told you. I can give him legal advice. I said the Constitution of the United States guarantees this man can have a counselor. I'm counseling him. That's what I told her. I said I'm counseling him.
That's right. I'm his private counsel. I'm an attorney de facto, a private attorney.
Yeah, if they ask you if you're an attorney, you say, in fact, I am.
There you go. I like that.
That's what you say.
Oh, you said something earlier about equity and being in good faith. Yeah, I remember, because I put this in some of my paperwork with my last case here I'm dealing with. It's a saying that says, he who has done iniquity deserves no equity. And that's right. That shows you got to be in good faith. And I put that in there, let them know, reminding them, I'm in good faith.
Right.
All right. And also with the natural and artificial, there's also the Latin saying that says, nature bis maxima, which means nature is twice as strong. I remind them of that too. I'm coming as a natural man, and nature is twice as strong as that fiction.
You know what? But I think they know we natural men and women. But these contracts, man, we contract.
If you don't remove those presumptions, no, they presume you to be that slave, that trustee, or that thing under their jurisdiction because of your status. That's why you got to put it on the record. Remove those presumptions. You do got to put that status on the record. That status. I'm a natural man, self-conscious and aware. And I demand my rights. I'm not asking for them. I demand. So when you ask her as a child or whatever, then that's what they treat you like. But like you said, it all comes down to the thinker. As a man thinketh, so is he or she. They're going to treat you like a peasant. And if you think like a king, then you'll carry yourself as a king. And they will respect you, or you got to earn their respect. They ain't going to respect you up front, and not in this day and time. But you got to show them that you ain't no peasant, and you ain't just going to be, used as a cattle. Oh, that's another word, usufruct. Because you was talking about that thing. That's a word you can put out there and to get them used to, usufruct and usufructuary. That's what they do. They use us as usufructs. They're using people's property, usufruct. Yeah, they don't own it, but they use it and get the benefits from it. It's called a higher and best. It's called a higher and best use principle. You're not using it so they can use it for your benefit. That's what they're. I mean, it's, when you study this, man, they're not doing nothing. The more I study, the more illegal. Yeah, they're doing everything. They're doing everything right. It's just the deception is they're not giving us full. They're not revealing all the facts, all material facts. But aside from that, just like with my case, when they collude, when they swindle, because they figure you're a peasant, like who are you to stand up and try to assert your rights, or you don't know nothing, so it could go either way. I mean, they are corrupt. They are corrupt. Now, there's a lot of them that's corrupt. There's a few ethical, but very few that's ethical these days. Now you said something. You said something right there. You said they feel like you're a peasant. That's another thing that the American people gotta
they got to get back to, because I think we under the assumption that we left those lords and kings and dukes and everything over in England. It's still here. They brought it right back over here.
Titles of nobility.
They got titles of nobility over here.
Using titles of nobility.
That is exactly what it is. They're using a feudal. That's what I said earlier. It's a feudalistic type of model that they're using, and all those titles of nobility, they just changed the names of them and brought them over here and gave them names like senator and governor. And I'm telling you, I saw this thing from the governor where the person wrote him and called him his most excellent excellency, or he called him excellency. I'm like,
okay.
Are you writing the governor and calling him excellency? That's what you call you say to a king.
Well, he is the head of the state, of the country. The governor is the highest office. So he would be the king if it wasn't a federated state, if it was a sovereign, independent state. Right?
He is.
He's the highest office of the corporation, but yeah. But, that's why they're giving him that reverence, I guess. Your honorable,
Yeah. Let me leave your mic open, man. I'm going to bring in some more people, put a couple of other people on the line. We're going to jump around the country today. I'm going to dip down into Delaware real quick. 302, let me go. Delaware, you're on the air. 7419.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace to the nation of God on earth.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
This is a very interesting conversation. Like David Windmill said, they practice distorted language. And so the main thing is being a well-read person, know how to counteract their bull crap, knowing that they are de facto government. Like the old people said, don't give Satan no power. They have no power. And when you can deal with them, the winds will strike, because a lot of them are little boys. And so I also like to say that I listened to Dr. Finkelstein last night, and I think that you should Google the oath, the Jesuit oath, and Knights of Columbus oath, and the King Alfred plan. But just read a little and tell the other people to do their research, because we really in trouble. I know when we go in court, it's like a battle. That's why they got the gold fringes around the flag, regardless of what we know. They're out to get us, and that Dr. Finkelstein said that, and the Jews write all the laws and stuff. So when you remember reading in Black Christian Code, the first clause was the expulsion of Jews from the colony. They stole our birthrights. That's why nationality is important. And also, when you go into court, the president signed something called the Conventions on Rights of Duties of States, Inter-American, December 26, 1933, with the United Nations Avalon Project, because they're foreign states. And we got to be aware that we always deal with foreign states. So if they could hoodwink and pull us off the square and practice their masonry or the modern-day crusade on us, they will, because this is modern-day crusade. Because of how fast we get knowledge of their law, which the Jews wrote, they still trying to get us. And Dr. Finkelstein said that.
Yeah, they are, but it's like, it's because we're a public charge. That's what I was telling people about public charges, and that goes back to being a consumer or producer. I don't think it is about black and white. I think it's about consumers and producers. I think it's about masters and slaves. I think it's about goods and services. And when I say goods and services, us being the goods. If you don't utilize your mind, then you're no better than some type of goods. That's what it is. That's what I'm seeing. I don't think, if you notice with Finkelstein, one thing I liked about that Jew, everything came back to shekels. Oh, well, we're chopping up the baby, but we're making a lot of shekels. Oh, well, but we're making a lot of shekels. Everything with him was business. Everything was business. It wasn't personal. Everything that man talked about, he went back to how many shekels he was making from doing it.
And you're right. You're right.
We got the kids from the time they born to the time they're 18. We making a lot of shekels.
You're right, but some things is none of their business. We give them the power. This, we submit to their statutes and stuff. That's the difference, because we're from the sovereign state, not the foreign state. That's what I just read to you about that convention where the president is signed. We don't study law enough.
But I'm gonna say this. Let me say this. All the American people are from the sovereign states. They just didn't get blacks or melanated individuals. They did it to everybody. Let me tell you something, man. We got blog talks where the Europeans are going just as hard as we going over here. They're going hard in the paint. They're going hard in the paint because they after they ass too. They after they ass too. You know what I'm saying? They don't have nothing to do with no black or white. They after they ass too. Now they're going to be talking to wealthy people. Want to sit down and talk to me because these people on their ass.
Well, I always say, when you see white people marching in the street, you know it's bad.
but
they after them too.
But the thing
occupy that, you knew shit was bad when they out there.
They after them too, man. This ain't no black and white. Listen, this ain't no black and white.
They try to say themselves without us. That's the thing with the Tea Party. They try to save themselves without us. You know what I mean? They ain't like they try to save everybody. They just try to save themselves, but they know they're in the same boat as us, and that's why they hot.
The deepest part.
They hot.
Got the mulatto guy running the ship.
They hot too. They getting them too. They getting them too. You know what I'm saying?
About the green.
And that's why I kind of, when you look at it, the next question you have to ask, okay, well, how did the white people get into all of this? What happened to them? Right. Same thing. They were private. They got fooled into some contracts to become U.S. citizens too, and got their ass too. And that's what. Now let me tell you something. When the white people wake up, cause see that's what they ain't really scared of us, cause we ain't gonna bust.
They got the guns and equity.
Them white people, the average gun owner is 30 years old and white. And they have gun collections. When they do the damn gun shows in each one of these states, you don't see a lot of us in these motherfuckers. This is white people getting tanks and bazookas and and all this type of stuff. They geared up. They geared up, and they just waiting for an excuse. So that's who they worried about, because they know when the white people get a full understanding. Because see, right now they running around, they taking their houses. They talking about what's happening to the Constitution. We need to lynch Obama. And Obama's sitting back looking at y'all like, y'all dumb motherfuckers, I ain't did nothing to you. I'm making laws for the corporation. Get your ass out of the corporation. That's all you have to do. Obama ain't doing nothing to you.
I don't know about them executive orders where they try to push it on everybody and deceive everybody. He's doing stuff like that. That's wrong. Signing this stuff.
What is an executive order, though? And let me tell you this. He gives executive orders with the sanction of Congress, okay? Because this is Congress's house. Right now, the executive branch and the judicial branch is operating inside of Congress's house. They're not operating in the de jure form of government. So everything really is coming from the permission of Congress. This is why when you have a federal case, they have sentencing guidelines. They have sentencing guidelines because Congress is telling the judges what to do. But in our real Republican form of government, you wouldn't have no sentencing guidelines. Got no damn Congress be telling no judge how to sentence somebody and send them to prison. You can only do that in their house. That's why you have sentencing guidelines. So these executive orders is the same thing. He's doing that. Congress is directing all of that. Obama's just the fall guy. He ain't got that much power. He's just a figurehead.
And he's a Judas goat.
That's it. I'm telling you.
Judas goat.
What law was he talking about? The executive order was he talking about?
I don't know what executive order were you talking about.
He said about to feed somebody or something like that. He said Obama was talking about. He was just, the other brother on the other line was just mentioned that.
Oh, I was saying he's making these executive orders and then they pushing it like it belongs to everybody in the whole country.
Well,
executive orders just for the executive branch.
I mean, basically, do 99% of the population U.S. citizens. I mean, we don't make up. We, you know,
I know that goes to King Alfred.
But
I mean, he can't do that. Go ahead.
They're not even Americans, and we don't never raise that issue.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
They're not even Americans. I don't even recognize them.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you have to be American to run a corporation?
No.
I rest my case. I don't see why people tripping on that
internationally. Everybody does it. It's about commerce.
It's international.
I'm not tripping on that. I'm smiling at them because their practice and their source, like Dr. Finkelstein was talking, right? Now, this is crazy. Anytime, and they talk about that, anytime they can psych your mind, take your gold and trade it for paper and stuff, and make the paper magic, that's sorcery.
Well, they into sorcery, definitely. They definitely into sorcery. They definitely. Hey, let me bring in another.
I have one more question to ask you.
Go ahead.
Say I'm in accident case. I was in a car accident and State Farm's insurance, and I took it to trial, and I said I would like to face my accuser. I have a right to face my accuser, Mr. State Farm. They said so that's fraud. If I can't face my accuser, ain't that automatic dismissal?
Well, I mean, the thing is this: what you're trying to do is you're trying to determine jurisdiction,
Right.
Which should always be. But that's why I'm letting y'all know about these courts. You're not in no Article III court. You have a right to face your accuser in an Article III court under the Constitution. You don't have no constitutional rights. That's why when you go in there and start asking for some constitutional rights, they tell you say this one more time, I'm going to give you contempt. They're going to hold you in contempt of court because they're adjudicating a contract. And the contract is outside the Constitution. When you look at public law and private law, on the public side, you got constitutional law, administrative law, criminal law, and international public law. On the private side, in the private law, you got contract law, property law, tort law, and status law. All right? A contract law falls under private law. It is not. The Constitution is on the other side of the fence. So you come in there and start talking about the Constitution and everything. That's what they tell you. You say that one more time, I'm going to hold you in contempt. Because we in here under private law. It's a contract we in here adjudicating. Now, what you can do is what people do, but it's still kind of raising an argument because I don't want to argue with these people. All right. Now, sometimes they try to force you into an argument, but you don't want to argument with these people. When you come in here, people say, "I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm confused." Okay, is this civil or criminal? And they say, "Well, it's a criminal action." Okay, well, thank you. Let the record reflect that the action being brought against the defendant is a criminal action. Now, sir, the Constitution of the United States, or the Constitution for the United States of America, only grants this court two criminal jurisdictions. One is a jurisdiction under the common law, i.e. Article 3. The other is a jurisdiction that constitutes a condition of contract under criminal aspects of a colorable admiralty jurisdiction. Now, sir, for the record, would you please tell this court under which two of these jurisdictions this court is operating under? They always tell you it's statutory. Who is the individual who promulgates the statutes? The legislature. So if they're telling you it's statutory, then it's under the legislature, and you're in an Article I court, and this is an Article I, Section 8, the Clause 9 tribunal, which is a territorial court, and they are in there dealing with contracts because that is the only way you conduct business is through contracts. You can't conduct business without a contract. You're in a business court. They are there to regulate commerce. You're in a commercial.
It's an equity court, court of chancery. We don't know what that is.
Transfer to the district court because of nationality. You want to get removed to the district court. That's Article 3.
Well, you hear a lot of brothers say that we have the wrong venue and jurisdiction, and we need to get the proper venue to adjudicate this. And a lot of brothers go in and they assert their common law rights. Now, I don't subscribe to that because all they're doing is trying to collect the debt, and there isn't any money. And equity, the brother just said it's equity. Equity is fairness, impartiality, and even-handed dealing, and they merged law and equity because they had to, because there is no money. You have to have money to have a remedy. So since you can't pay for anything, all right, how you going to charge me? That's not fair. How is it fair if you want me to pay a debt and I ain't got nothing to pay it with?
Well, how are they going to charge us then? Vice versa.
Well, they have to give you a remedy, and this is where the administrative process comes into play.
Right.
But you have to learn how to assert it. It's okay, well, look, I know you want me to pay this, but you know there ain't no damn money. You took the money in 1933. They codified in Title 31-511 D2, the rescission of a gold clause. And you know that under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10, that only gold and silver can be used to pay a debt, Your Honor. Now, what were you expecting me to pay this debt with? And please don't say cash, check, or credit card, because that would demonstrate that you're willfully violating public policy, because public policy has made it mandatory. You can't require anyone to pay anything with any particular form of cash or currency. It's what you will accept. And if you don't accept my signature that I'm about to put on this promissory note and hand to you, then under UCC 3-603B, which is tender of payment, this debt is discharged up to the amount of the tender. Because if I can't give you a promissory note, ain't shit else I can give you. Because that's all you see in circulation is promises to pay. Look in your pocket.
This is where the fraud comes in. You ain't supposed to know that, so they want you to work for those debt instruments and give that. And if you can't get enough without working, that's what it, default you, put you in debt, make you a full slave.
That's why they came out with the game Monopoly in 1936. They came out with the game Monopoly right after 1933. They told everybody what was happening. If you look at the Monopoly money, it lines up, the colors line up with your real money. I put a picture up of it all the time on my stream to show you how the Monopoly, the colors in the Monopoly money match the colors in the Federal Reserve money. They gave you tokens, which are your straw man. You got a public and a private, community chess and chance. You got get out of jail free cards. You got all that shit that's on that Monopoly. You got deeds. Everything is deeds. Everything operates off of a deed.
Pay your tax.
Taxes. Everything you see that they doing is on that Monopoly board. I'm trying to tell y'all. It's all on the Monopoly board.
That's right.
They told you what and the bank, and check it out. And one of the rules of Monopoly is if the bank run out of money, guess how you get some more money for the bank?
You make some more.
They tell you to get a damn piece of paper and make some more.
That's right. Create it. That's right. So somebody did. And bankrupt the next ones. Somebody get bankrupt.
Yusef.
Yeah.
But that seminar you're doing tomorrow, what time is it and what do I tap into?
It's gonna be at I'm gonna try to start it at 4:00 Pacific Standard Time. So it's gonna be about 7:00 your time. All right, and it'll be 4:00 my time. I know we got people on the East Coast, so I don't want to keep them up late. So I'm gonna start it early on this side over here.
Well, how do I get into it?
I'm gonna send an email. Do I have your email?
Yeah, Sharif Noel Yahoo. Sharif Noel at yahoo.com.
Well, can you send me an email? Well, tell me what it. Yeah, send me an email at highfrequencyblogtalk@gmail.com, and I will send you the sign-on because it's going to be online. It's an online webinar. And you'll be able to see everything I'm doing with the papers. You're going to see how I'm going to show y'all. I'm going to let y'all in my world and show y'all how I draw up documents and things like that, let you see how I get down and everything, all right?
All right.
Which should be very, very good.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Shukran.
Afwa. Shukran jazilan. Thank you very much. Let's go to where we going? I think I'm going to dip down south now, man. It's been a little too much time up north. Let's go down south. Let's visit. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think I got nobody down south on the line. I don't know what's up. Let me see what this is right here. Let me see what this is. Where we going? Oh, let's go to VA, Virginia. 540. You're on High Frequency Radio.
Hey, good morning. Well, good afternoon for me out here. Not much. Hey, great topic. I would like to get specific for other listeners out there who are listening about how to make sure that they are in the right status. Also, how to have their case transferred out of a state court into a federal court if that's something they need to do. The brother who was on just before me, he mentioned the Convention on Rights and Duties of the State. I would suggest everybody who is a national get that document and go down to section number 9, because in that section there, it will tell you, Article 9, it'll tell you that you have the same right as a state has. It lays it out for you. Just go to Article 9 and read that. The other articles are important as well, but Article 9, that's where you can use. That's what you can use, specifically use in a court or even in your administrative process to make the point that, hey, look, I am a national and I have the same right as the state has. Okay. The next document you want to get is the International Organizations Immunities Act. And if you go down to Title I, Section number 9, that will also let you know that you have the same right to the judicial processes as any government official, anybody, whoever in the government, the president has. You have the same judicial rights and processes as any government official has. Again, that's Title I, Section number 9 of the International Organizations Immunities Act. Okay.
Oh.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm going to let you finish. All right.
When it comes to the courts, if you are in a state court or any municipal court, the way that you can get it, the way that you can tell the judge, the prosecutor, the administrative hearing officer that you are in the wrong court or they're trying to drag you into the wrong court, pull up United States Code 28-1330, small letter A, and 28-1331. Okay, both of those statutes will tell you or will tell them that original jurisdiction starts in the district court, meaning the United States District Court for whatever particular territory they live in. Okay, you follow me on that? So for instance, if you're living in the state of Maryland in PG County, your federal court would be the United States District Court for the Southern District of Maryland. And you can find that out as well if you do a little searching into the United States Code. The way that someone can have their case, if they're already in court, the way that they can have it removed from a state court to federal court, if it is a criminal action or if you're in a criminal court,
is USC 1455, yeah.
Right. And if it's a civil, you go to 1441.
Right.
That'll tell you the process you need to do. Okay? Now, if they are trying to bring you in as a corporation, that's when you bring up the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. And again, you can find that under Title 28. You can start at 1602 all the way through 1611. But the way that you prove that they are a foreign state and that you are also a foreign state, go to 1603. And it has A and then it has lowercase a, lowercase b. If you read those right there, it'll tell you what the definition of a foreign state is. And it'll let you know that you are a foreign state and that they are a foreign state. Okay, now, if they're going to bring you in, again, as a corporation, then under the civil rules of civil procedures, federal rules of civil procedure, then they have to follow Rule 4J, which means the proper service. And if you get into Rule 17 as well, you can hold them to that.
Real party and interest.
Real party of interest, right. And then the last thing is that the 11th Amendment of the Constitution, that prevents any court of the United States from hearing any case between a foreign state and a citizen, or between two foreign states, if there is no contract between the two parties. So if a foreign state tries to bring you in as a foreign state, then they're going to have to prove that you have a contract with them somehow, that was somehow violated or breached, or that you caused harm to them. If they bring you in as an individual, then, again, the 11th Amendment prevents that, but then they're going to have to, again, show some type of a contract where you waived your rights to allow them to prosecute you or to sue you.
Okay, now, let me give you a deeper understanding. First of all, even using any of the statutes is admitting that you are a U.S. citizen.
No.
Yes, it is.
The reason why is because if you go back to that Convention on Rights and Duties of the States, Article 9, it tells you that you have the same protections under international law as any national or foreigner has, or as any state has. So just because you use if they have access to that statute, then you have access to it.
I understand what you...
So whatever they use, you can use as a national. That's an international agreement. So if they violate that, they're violating not only United States law, but international law.
Right. Now, if you remember that the title of this show that we're doing today is State versus State and Citizen versus Citizen. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go and you read these statutes, and it say foreign state, every time you see the word state there, you see the small letter S. It's not no capital S. So it's talking about a common noun. Mm-hmm. It's not talking about a proper noun. A proper noun is when you see the word state with a capital S, it's talking about a particular person, place, or thing. Every time you see them use capital letters when they reference something, they're talking about the private. They're talking about the republic. They're talking about real living souls. When you see them use a small letter, which is a common noun, they could be talking about anything. And this is why when you look at the Constitution, after the 14th Amendment, the word citizen, everywhere that's written in the Constitution, is written with a small c. Prior to the 14th Amendment, when you read the Constitution, everywhere in the document you saw the word citizen, it was with a capital C, because no corporations exist at that time. The Constitution didn't recognize that. The 14th Amendment, which was a war amendment, which is how the United States brought all the citizens with a capital C of the several states under their jurisdiction by way of these contracts, now put everybody this small letter C, a U.S. citizen, with a small c. And corporations are citizens. These courts that you are going into do not recognize anything but corporations. Mm-hmm. They operate 7 different type of entities. They're either looking at a trust, an estate, a corporation, a company, a partnership, an individual, or sole proprietorship or something like that. They don't recognize any living souls. You're dealing now. You can find remedy using the corporation, but you got to understand in what capacity you are making an appearance when you come in there, viewing you in their jurisdiction, and you have an argument that you want to put onto the record. They don't never recognize real living souls. The only capacity you can come in there is as a third-party intervener under Rule 24 and with some type of counterclaim under Rule 13 or some type of trustee or something like that. You're already looked at as a trustee ex officio when you're coming in there under a criminal case. Now, I see what you're saying because you are taking benefits. You're taking benefits and privileges when you're using the Foreign Sovereignty Immunities Act because you are affording yourself the protections of their statutes. There is, and I'm not saying that you can't get remedy that way. I just want to make it people clear in their mind the capacity that you are operating under, and that's why I named this with the way that I did, because a lot of people make that mistake. They don't pay attention to these words when they're reading them in these statutes, these little nuances of the law, like the capitalization of the letters and everything, which mean a very big deal. You're looked at as a person in law, in contemplation of the law. And we already know that a person is, they say natural and artificial persons and all these different things, but a real living soul cannot appear in a commercial court. Now, you can assert your right, your common law right, to the proper venue and jurisdiction of a common law Article 3 court. That's the only place they're going to recognize a real living soul is in Article 3. That's the only place. That's why you have the United States District Court and you have the District Court of the United States. One is the real court for Article 3, and one is the Article 1 court. So you're invoking those things, and you'll see stuff phrased like that when you look at. I got a citation right here that uses that terminology: District Court of the United States and United States District Court. These are the games they play, because everything, and I'm going to tell you how I know I'm correct, because everything in law follows the laws of nature. And one of the laws of nature is polarity. There's two sides to everything. Everything that they do has two sides, a public and a private.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everything. Everything has two sides. You just keep it just simple like that. All right. You are foreign to them. You are. You're absolutely correct. You're foreign to that venue, and it would be interesting to see how people would put that on the pleading and bring that argument. I got some guys that did some excellent work on using the foreign side. There's a guy. I don't know his name. He got some website. He got a whole bunch of members and everything. That's all they do is use the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act, and the Savings to Suitor Act. You know, they use these acts and everything and bring them into court. I don't know how much success they have, but they claim to have a great deal of success as well. But I'm just right now, I'm not trying to say that your remedy don't work. It is a remedy. But I want people to understand the difference. Public and private don't mix. They don't ever mix them. Don't you ever mix them. They don't never mix public and private. If you in that court and you make an appearance in that court and everything, you need to know under what capacity you are making that appearance. If you a private man, you don't even really need to even be speaking in that court. Because as soon as you start speaking and engaging that judge in a conversation, you grant jurisdiction and you look at it as a public figure.
Well, under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, which is Title 28, I'm trying to get to it here now. Even if you show up in that court, let me see if I can pull it up here now. Let me see. I think it's 1605. I think it's 16. Let me see here. Well, let me keep talking while I'm looking. Even if you show up in that court, if I can find this site here, it doesn't confer jurisdiction to the court just by you being there.
Well, it doesn't. I'm gonna tell you this.
Let me say this. So,
go ahead.
If you happen to find yourself in a court as a natural person, let's just say that, then your argument, in my opinion, should be that the court is a foreign state court and everybody else in there is foreign to you. That should be your argument, and that's what you should stick to.
Now, let me tell you something.
Even if you don't want to be a corporation, if they're going to look at you as a corporation, then you need to let them know, hey, okay, I'm a corporation.
No, I'm going to tell you what they're going to look at you at. I'm going to tell you what they're going to look at you at. First of all, that's called an off-point argument, and what they're going to look at you at is a bad businessman. Now, I'm going to read to you right now the declaration and purpose of the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act. Listen very closely to what this says. It says the Congress finds that the determination by United States courts with a small c, because when they reference the real court, they use a capital C. When they talk about the Article 1 courts, they use a small c. When they talk about Article 3 courts, they use a capital C. When they talk about Article 1 courts, they do the same thing with everything, giving you the code down. All right? The Congress finds that the determination by United States courts of the claims of foreign states with a small s to immunity from the jurisdiction of such courts with a small c would serve the interest of justice and would protect the rights of both foreign states and litigants in United States courts. Under international law, states with a small s, not the capital S. This ain't talking about real states, the Republican. This is talking about a democratic corporation.
Okay.
States are not immune from the jurisdiction of foreign courts insofar as their commercial activities are concerned, and their commercial property may be levied upon for the satisfaction of judgments rendered against them in connection with their commercial activities. I could go on and on through all of these statutes, and everything you're going to see in there is referencing commerce. So when you go in there with an argument and say, well, you don't have jurisdiction over me, I'm not a corporation, you know, blah, 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 you're a bad businessman. Okay?
No, because look, if they're gonna bring you in as a corporation, like you said, it's gonna be for some commercial activity. Now they're gonna have to prove what commercial activity you. Wait a minute, they're gonna have to. Well, I'm not talking. Well, they're gonna have to prove what type of commercial activity you're in.
No. I don't make them prove no commercial activity. You know why? Because they can't prove no commercial activity because they don't have no commercial energy because they need you. You are supposed to, they need your signature. This is what acceptance for value is all about. This is what it's called, an acceptance for honor, all right? You're coming in as a third-party intervener because they're not charging you. They're charging a corporation, which is your franchise, that all capital letters name. You're the trustee of that corporation. Any type of public charge that's been placed on that, you need to discharge that obligation by giving them some sort of negotiable instrument and telling them to get the hell on. When you engage these people like this, you can be looked at as an enemy of the state. Now, if you want to see a very good treatise on that, there's a document on the internet that's well written about it called What is Acceptance for Value, and he goes through all those uniform commercial codes. But what you're doing is called a traverse. You are arguing. You're coming in saying, look, I'm not a corporation. You don't have jurisdiction over me. Where is the contract? And I'm not saying all those things aren't valid. They're valid. But that is something that's being taught all over the internet and all these patriot communities, everything, and it's wrong. I'm here to tell you it's wrong. You have to know how that these are commercial courts. It's only creditors and debtors. And if you are a secured party creditor or a creditor, creditors don't argue because they are bankrupt. It's on the public record that they're bankrupt. They can't make a claim. A bankrupt entity can't make a claim. So when you stand there and you start saying, well, where's the contract? Where's the jurisdiction? All these type of things, making these arguments and everything like that, they start snatching you up and everything, and they know they can't prove any of that. We can't prove it. That's what nobody does. It's what the banks don't. You ask the bank for the promissory note. All this, they can't do it because ain't nobody got no damn money. All the money's coming from signatures. That's why in your face, they are constantly throwing some piece of paper in your face when you put a signature on it because that's money. Whether it's an application for a car, a promissory note for a house, a goddamn library card, whatever. They want your signature on it because you are the money. You the money. And if I'm the money, if I got millions of dollars, I got all the money in the world, well, I'm going to argue somebody want $20. The state come to me and say, okay, we need $20 from you, man. Well, here's a promissory note. Take this. Let me write my name on a piece of paper. Print it up. Here you go. Thank you, sir. Let's do it in private because I know, we don't need to put this on the public record. I'm going to give you what you need in the private and everything. I'm going to make it all nice because I know you're going to take this trade. You won't want to go probably put this on the international market or something like that. But I'm going to give you this document and everything, and now I'm not going to argue. What happens is, after you do a procedure like that, you go in there and the judge tricks you. Most people fall to the deception of the judge because the judge is so slick and everything. He come in and he say, hey, how you doing today, Mr. Johnson? Oh, yeah, fine, judge, and everything. He just got you right there. Well, people come in with their foreclosure. Well, he said, when was the last time you made a payment? About 2 years ago. Just admitted on the record there's a contract. You can contract with these paper. Contracts are express and implied. Contracts just ain't expressed. You contract through your conduct, through implication of look up a implied contract. Through the implication of your conduct. Actions speak louder than words. 9 times out of 10, they're going to have your credit report up there looking at it, and they're going to be going through it, looking at all these minimum contacts that establish that they got personal jurisdiction over you. Have you ever looked at the word minimum contacts?
No, I have not.
You should look up that word minimum contacts before you jump out there like that. Minimum contacts is evidence that you have been engaged in business. This Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is for commercial purposes. What it was put in place for, it was like, if I'm not doing business with a United States corporation, then this ain't the proper venue for this.
Right.
But if there's evidence that this foreign state, has been doing business with a franchise of the United States, they're going to grant jurisdiction. That's called a minimum contact. Now, this is why the trust information comes up so properly, and you hear me telling people about managing the trust, because it's all the same thing. They be attacking the trust the same way, because the trust is a fictitious entity. And if you don't manage it properly, if you don't keep that trust safe from those minimum contacts, they're going to come in and they're going to take jurisdiction. They're going to take jurisdiction. If you take a benefit and privilege from the United States, you're not getting out of it. You can't take a benefit and privilege from the United States and then try to invoke the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act. And they got evidence that you've been doing business within the United States. It's not going to work, I'm telling you.
Well, if you go back to that word commercial, if you look up the word commerce in Black's Law 4th, it says exchange of goods, productions, or property of any kind.
Okay.
So,
and if you look
if I go to the store and purchase something, I'm not in commerce. At least I don't believe I'm in commerce. What's in commerce is the store that I purchased a product from, a finished, or what's the word they use? Consumer goods, meaning like the finished.
Okay.
So
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up.
Is what's in commerce, not me.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's go back to the word you just used, goods. Mm-hmm. You just said commerce. Give me the definition of commerce again.
Okay, according to the Black's Fourth, it says the exchange of goods, productions, and property of any kind.
Okay. Now, do you know what goods mean?
Actually, I've looked it up once before, but I'm trying to pull it up back here now in my Black's Law.
Okay, I'm gonna show you. Because see, I had another brother come at me and say, "Man, why are you doing that UCC stuff, man? Y'all putting this stuff on there, transmitting utility." Okay, you're talking about, this ain't no damn anywhere the definition of transmitting utility, and they're like, well, this don't have nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? They're reading transmitting utility, and they don't think it has anything to do with them. And what happens is this. People don't go deep. It is so easy in doing this to assume that you know the meaning of a word. It is so easy. It's so easy. Goods means all things that are movable when a security interest attaches. The term includes fixtures, standing timber that is to be cut, removed under conveyance or a contract for sale. Now, look at the next one. It says the unborn young of animals.
Cattle.
The unborn young of animals. Now, what does that mean?
Well, it could mean the animal that we think of like a calf or a horse, or it could mean a human being.
Okay, now that's what those other guys are thinking. They say animals, and that's what a lot of these other patriot people, they going on these talk shoes and everything. I'm not an animal.
Right.
What are you talking about? I'm not an animal. Let me read the definition of animal to you. Let me read it to you. And notice it said unborn animals. Okay? Unborn animals. Let's just go. Because I know when you hear that word animal, you're thinking about dogs and cats and horses and rabbits and all that type of stuff. But I'm just giving you an example of how thorough you have to be, how deep you have to dig. And you have to start with words that you already thought you knew the meaning of, because them are the ones that's going to trip you up. It ain't going to be the complex ones that jump out at you. I'm like, I got to look that word up. It's going to be the ones that you see every day and use every day that's going to trip you up and everything. That's how they did it. Now, when you go use the word animal, let me pull this up for you real quick. Now, what I'm coming from an Oxford unabridged dictionary, and these give you the etymology of the word. All right? It's like it gives you real deep etymology of all the word. I had to go out because I kept seeing this word animal pop up, and I had to say, you know what? They call it, and Alfred Addis, he came up with the same conclusion. He said, because he's reading in statutes, they keep referencing his animal. He just did a talk show about 2 months ago talking about this very thing. He said, man, these people think we animals. And he said, I'm not a damn animal. And I'm here to say, yes, you are. And I'm going to tell you why. It says animal, a living being, a member of the higher of the two series of organized beings, of which the typical form are endowed with life, sensation, and voluntary motion, but of which the lowest forms are hardly distinguishable from the lowest vegetable forms by any more certain marks than their evident relationship to other animal forms. Now, that's a nice way of saying where I tell people all the time, if you don't do nothing but, this goes back to when I say there's only two types of statuses, consumer and producer. Because if you're a consumer, then all you really do is eat, sleep, and reproduce. If all you do in your life is eat, sleep, and reproduce, there is nothing to distinguish you from a cow.
True.
All right, let me keep going. Let me keep. I ain't finished. I'm not finished. It goes on to say, right here, and this is what I really want you to see. It says, it was real hard. He says, many men, by reason of their ignorance in the Latin tongue, think that animals is a beast, whereas it signifies a living creature. They tell you right there that people in their ignorance attribute, and the real word animal comes from the word animate, to be alive. That's why it's a living creature. Right? Something that's animated is something that is alive. So you are an animal, but the meaning that's been ascribed to the word on everyday parlance on the street is one thing, but they use the real meanings of words. Now, in this goods, you see it says unborn animals. They have a security interest in unborn animals. What do you think your birth certificate is?
I believe
what do you think a marriage certificate is?
Are you asking me, or you just? Is that like It's a certificate. It's a bond, I guess you would call it.
It's a certificated security.
Correct.
That's what it is.
That's what that is.
So they have an interest in your labor, and they have an interest in your marriage. And some of these marriage licenses say the product of this union belongs to the state. So this is how deep people need to go. This is the reason why this is the reason why guys start doing this secure party creditor process and getting a birth certificate. And then people will try to say, well, the birth certificate, that's some type of myth, or something like that. And I'm looking at it, and you got to look at these people crazy, because I study trust law, and I'm 100% convinced that's what it is now, because I know when you start studying unincorporated business organizations. Now, on my birth certificate, I got it right here in front of me right now. I got my birth certificate right here in front of me. I was born in Texas. I was born in Dallas, Texas. And we got a nice looking one. It looks real nice. And right at the bottom of it, it says American Banknote Company. So I had to say, well, damn, why is American Banknote Company making birth certificates? So y'all know me. I went and researched American Banknote Company. I went and researched them. I pulled them up, and lo and behold, they are on Wikipedia. And it says, the American Banknote Company was a major worldwide engraver of national currency and postage stamps. Currently, it engraves and prints stocks and bond certificates. That's all they do is stocks and bond certificates. So what
certificate?
A stock or bond security. Security.
It's a security.
Yeah.
So they got a security interest in goods.
Well, that goods, again, that is something that is going to be sold for profit.
Oh, well, the man is a genius. They trading your birth certificate on the stock market, man.
I agree with you with that. But getting back to my initial point about commerce.
Okay.
If I go to the store and purchase something, I purchased a finished good, which is different than a good or goods. The entity that is selling the goods is the one who is in commerce, because they got, let's say, for instance, a loaf of bread.
That's not true.
They purchased a loaf of bread from the bakery for the intent of selling it to a consumer. When the consumer buys it, they pay a tax.
Go ahead. You look at it as a merchant because you got Federal Reserve notes in your pocket. Those are certificated securities you got in your pocket. That Federal Reserve note that you just said, look at it closely. That's a certificated security, and you dealing in securities.
No, I'm not dealing in security because that's the only thing under the state of emergency. That's the only thing, or the Emergency Banking Act. That's the only thing I can deal with.
And that is why you do an administrative process.
Correct.
And then you come in with good faith and using equity because they haven't given you any money. They took all the money, and that's why equity now. The fairness, impartiality, and even-handed bid dealing. You can go in there with a promissory note or some type of negotiable instrument, and you got the right to set off this debt under Rule 13, and that set-off is coming from the private side as your capacity as a man with all the credit, and you are giving it to the public to offset their books. And I'm not even going to argue with you about it. Why do I need to bring in the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act?
Okay, well, tell you what, I'm not going to argue with you about that either, because that's something security party, that's something, honestly, I do not understand. So right. It's easier for me, because I understand the Foreign Sovereign Immunity, that, hey, look, if you saying I owe you something, okay, as a corporation, then I'm going to raise my flag of immunity and make you prove that I was in commerce at the time of whatever. I'm going to make you prove it. I'm going to sit back and watch. Now it's up to you, which it has worked for me on several occasions, where they're going to either have to come up with the evidence or drop the case. And in my case, they dropped the case because they know they couldn't prove that at the time of the infraction I wasn't engaged in commerce at all, based on the definition of commerce.
Right.
And that's what I hold them to. Now, like I said, the secured party credit, honestly, that's over my head right now, so I couldn't even go down that road with you.
But the statute that you're using is for commercial purposes.
Right. Mm-hmm. But in 1605 it tells you that. Let me give you it says a foreign state shall not be immune from the jurisdiction of the courts of the United States or of the states in any case which an action this is lowercase a number 2, in which the action is based upon commercial activity carried on in the United States. So
right.
if I were engaged in commerce, then I couldn't raise that immunity because I'm engaged in commerce. But if I'm not, then I could raise it and say, okay, you saying I was in commercial activity, now you prove it.
I'm telling you. They bring in charges against your straw man, not you, number one.
Oh, right? Most definitely.
And the argument, you can do that. It's a traverse. I'm telling you, you say it works. I haven't heard. I've heard other people use it. I mean, this is not new to me. Mm-hmm. I've been knowing about Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act about 7 years. All right, none of this stuff is new to me. I've been around this a long time. I heard all the arguments. I read almost everything everybody done put out. It's probably nothing I ain't touched. I can't say I read everything. Nobody's read everything. But I'm already familiar with that. Mm-hmm. Some things work, some things don't work. That's why nobody can come on this show and say, well, this is the definite way that you should do it.
Right.
You know,
right,
it's like,
right.
yeah, it's like I can't even say that. That's why I said I can't even say that it wouldn't work for you, because what works for you might not work for me. It might work for somebody else. Because really what it comes down to is your conviction and your belief in what it is that you're doing. That's really carrying you through.
Right. And one of the things that helped convince me that this Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act was powerful is because I have a neighbor who was an attorney for the United States. I have two cousins, and I have a good friend who both are attorneys. I bring this issue up to them in email format. They will not answer me back on it.
Hell, they won't answer you back on nothing.
The attorney for the United States, he actually, I don't want to say he lied, but he tried to lead me astray. But then when I brought him back to that 11th Amendment and how it tied into it, then he openly admitted it. But that's how I know how powerful that Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act is and why attorneys don't want to deal with it.
And why I don't trust attorneys.
Me?
Like somebody called me. Huh?
Me either now.
I mean, that's why, somebody called in and asked me about this guy Polite and Malik, somebody who's with the he's an attorney. And I'm like, man, this man got if he got a bar card, you can't trust him. I'm sorry. Why do you think that they had the original 13th Amendment was not to let attorneys be in the government? Why do you think the Bible talks about attorneys? You know what I'm saying? It's like, this thing doesn't change. I'm not saying that nobody ain't said down through history. I don't trust them because I've dealt with too many of them. And even when they seem like they have good intentions, and which I think some of them do, but because of the profession that they're in, it restrains them from doing it. There's certain things they can't deal with. They got to get out of the way, or they're going to get in trouble. I'm telling you what it is.
They took the oath, so, they got to, they made their bed, now they got to stay in.
They ain't trying to talk about that. They into keeping slaves.
Oh, yeah, the overseers. And, it's so sad when I see our people in general who are attorneys, and when somebody's charged with something, how they never bring up that foreign state issue to try to get them out of it. They always go by the state statute.
Let me tell you something,
man. Sad. It's so sad.
Man, let me tell you something, man. That's why I be dropping that stuff. That's why I'm okay with attorneys if they're not practicing criminal law. But when they come and practice criminal law, I'm not having no mercy on them. Because them is the lowest of the low. To me, they like in the hustling game, niggas who rob houses and things. That's the level I put them on. They like the robbers and everything, rob houses and everything. Because they just robbing people, man.
Yep.
People are coming to them, it's like, man, we got to get you off and everything. You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. They can't do nothing for you on a criminal case.
Yep.
Man, I'm trying to tell you, man, you can't do nothing for. So they come in and say, well, this UCC stuff is too complex. People don't understand it. Things like that. Okay, so what's the alternative? Go get an attorney? That's the alternative, huh? We see what that do. Look at the jails.
Yep.
We already see what that's going to get us. The jails are packed. Let me bring in some more callers, man.
Okay.
It's been nice. I got to bring in some more people. You got their hands up.
Gotcha.
I'll be running my mouth.
Hey, peace. Let me jump in right quick. Peace, my brother.
Go ahead, Paul. What's happening, man? You back?
Right, beloved. Hey, you know how long you've been telling me to just pay him. And I've been mentally brain locked into the engagement of truth, which is I can't owe you nothing. And what's going on now is that my mind has finally accepted that you've been telling me the right daggum thing all along, basically just because it's the methodology for process. Any other thing you do affords them opportunity
to rape, steal, and plunder your estate, your trust. And
when
so,
they got, yep.
So the essence of our dilemma is this: that right don't mean a dadgum thing, because no matter how right you are, you're right in the wrong place, and you're right about the wrong thing in the wrong place.
It's called off point. It's called off point. That's a legal term.
It really becomes food for their private conversations. Is really what it is. I think they just find it amusing and they utilize it for their amusement in their private circles. And the only way to really shut them down is to do it through the reality of commerce. And then when they don't honor it, because they don't honor it, that's the problem that I'm having.
Their ass.
Huh?
That's when you're supposed to bust their ass. When they don't honor it. You gotta make them pay.
Right. That's when you give them something to talk about.
We get them something to talk about. That's when you put them liens on them. So you put a lien on them. If you do your process correctly, then you can put a lien on them. You can't put no lien on no public official that is not operated outside the ambit of delegated authority. So you have to document your process properly, which is I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, from beginning to end, and everything has to be timely. And then and then they have to give you your remedy, equity, and that's why I said equity. They merged equity and law because there ain't no money. You can't get no remedy in law.
And that merger is where we're all befuddled, because we're all looking for remedy through what we perceive to be a legal process that's not available to us because of their amalgamation of admiralty. They've amalgamated admiralty and maritime. They do what they need to do at the time that feels good to them to be victorious.
And that's called, you know what that's called? That's called public policy.
So I just wanted to let you know that however many years it's been, that I have finally accepted that what you're saying is, just pay them. All right, here you go. Take it, love you, bye. Go away. Yeah, just pay them.
You got all the commercial energy. It's a game that they playing. It's a vicious game. Don't get me wrong. It's a vicious game and it's a deadly game. It's because the outcome of it is serious, but it's a game.
So tell me, you just dropped this Rule 13 and paid them. What were you talking about?
Rule 13 is counterclaim. And a counterclaim is a set-off or an offset. That guest I had on top, Philip Gillian, he was talking about doing offsets and set-offs and things like that. And even Yahushua, everybody's talking about the same thing. They're just coming from different ways. But what it is these cases have to be bonded, and they have to have something that's going to set off the debt. You have to give them something of value, all right, that is going to balance those books. It's something, I don't care where you get it from, people come up with all these different methodologies for doing offsets or set-offs or whatever. You see people get silver coins and get a bond back, all type of stuff you see out there, all these creative ways. But it all comes down to the same thing. You have a book, you have accounts receivables, and accounts payable. You have assets and liabilities. And when an accounts receivable gets created, that has to be offset with something. And that's what you offset it with. You have to offset the books. You give them and there's no money. So if there is no money, that's why we have the UCC. UCC is negotiable instruments law. That's why they adopted the law merchant after 1933, because there wasn't no more money. So they had to make rules. So what it is that's the whole game. You got to figure out how to do the correct procedure. Because like a guy I talked to that, he told me about this. I said, what's the difference between rich people and poor people? He said, rich people know how to fill out paperwork. And I'm like, damn. Because all this shit is just fill out paperwork. You just got, everywhere you go with the government, you got to fill out the form. If you want to get a loan, you got to fill out the form. And the people who get the money, I used to have a consulting job where people paid me because I knew how to fill out the damn form. That's what it takes. Learn how to fill out forms. Let's put in.
So you gonna do the show tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do the show. You gonna do the show tomorrow?
No, you go ahead and do the show. I gotta run downtown and take care of something down in the federal building.
Oh man, yeah.
I'll get in as soon as I can. You said you was gonna do. You had a show lined up.
I did not say. I didn't say I was gonna do no show tomorrow.
Yes, you
Man,
did.
I got a guest coming on. I got a guest coming on Friday. But all right, I got you.
I'm gonna jump in as soon as I can. I might not be back by 11 though.
Okay, I got you.
All right. And I've been listening to some of your archive shows, man. You've been doing a marvelous job. I'm very humbled and honored to be associated and to be a part of High Frequency Radio. You're doing an outstanding job. You're bringing in some very, 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 very informative and enlightened guests. I just had the opportunity to listen to Shirley Jones' show. Powerful, 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 powerful information. I think that we do need to be looking at the reality of what Yeshua said months and months ago, earlier this year, to sick the big demons on the little demons.
That's right. That's right.
Demons on the little demons, because they are all tax absconders. They have developed more means of thievery than our minds. See, we're not only devious people can even begin to contemplate the level of malfeasance and fraud that's really been taking place. And the thing is that everybody wants to be a victim, but it's not just something that's happened to us. It is something that has happened to everybody in this hemisphere, and they're trying to duplicate it. They perfected it here, and they're trying to take it on the road globally.
They already have. Let me ask you a question though. Is it fraud if you ignorant about your rights? Do I have a duty? Let me give you an example for you answer that question. In real estate, you have real estate agents and then you have real estate investors. Now, I was trained to be a real estate investor, and I learned a long time ago that you use real estate agents because a real estate agent, all they want is a damn 7%, their little fee and everything. They'll bring you a damn property worth $2 million, got damn $1 million worth of equity in it, so they get 7%. Now, the real estate agent got a duty to give full knowledge about whatever it is they're doing. The real estate investor, I don't have to do that. If I come to somebody and I know their house is worth $100,000 and I can get them to sell it to me for $30,000, I'm good. I ain't break no laws or nothing. I didn't get over on you or anything like that. You should have did a comparative analysis of your property and everything and found out what your property was worth. So, using that microcosm, let's go to the macrocosm. Am I committing fraud against you if your ass is ignorant?
Now, this is the dilemma that has come from the materialistic standpoint of our species. Here is the problem. Anytime, I'm going to tell you where I'm at. Anytime you do to someone else what you didn't want done to you, that's daggone fraud. Now, you talking about business, and just you taking advantage of the ignorant. That's all. That's. I can see where you can say that might.
I'm glad you said that because this is all business. You got to take the emotion out of it. Just like Rabbi Finkelstein, we trying to make shekels.
Business. Listen, this is why it's not all business. You have come to the enlightenment of all matters being commercial. You have come to the enlightenment of the reality that is commercial. Just pay them. You've come to that enlightenment. But here's the reality. It's clothed differently. So it's still preying upon. This is not business if you're injuring. It's not business when you're injuring. It's feeding. It's hunting. It's harvesting. It's servitude. There's a distinct difference. There's a distinct difference of someone being taken advantage of because of their ignorance and someone being injured because of their ignorance. There's a distinct difference. Yeah, you lost money.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm gonna ride with Rabbi Finkelstein. You know, we're making a lot of shekels, man. There's a lot of shekels to be made off ignorance. It is what it is.
Well, I think that here go the truth. Karma coming, karma going, karma already there. The things that they're doing that they perceive to be opportunities to enrich themselves, now I see that quite possibly karma's been laughing at them the whole time, because like Dr. Shirley Jones said, they're locking them up. They're locking them up because now the big demon want to know, well, if you've been over here doing this all this time, where's my money? So,
yeah.
Well, go around, come around. Now, let me say it on this end. The karma coming around with the pharmaceuticals, because now it's making them sicker than anything. It's giving them worse things. It's affecting them. When I say them, I mean those closely assimilated and looking like the people with the bright ideas to act intolerable and unconscionable, cutting down the rainforest, using aluminum byproducts in the solutions to formulate all the pills. I heard this one thing in Hidden Colors, the second Hidden Colors, and it said that the pineal gland, when they were autopsying the Vietnam vets coming back, and they were performing autopsies on all of them before they sent them over to Dover. And they realized the difference in the pineal glands of the European descendants and those of the melanated descendants. They realized there was a distinct difference in the texture and the calcium and the size of the pineal gland. And so I had never heard that until now. So now what they've been doing from a agricultural level is doing things to harm your body, but more than anything, they're trying to shut down your pineal gland because they realize that theirs is not as active and as organic as it needs to be. They're trying to level the playing field by adversely affecting the melanin people's pineal gland. But it's backfiring because it's only magnifying the deficiencies in theirs. So what they're doing really is generating a whole class and populace of beings that are spiritually disconnected. I am of the mindset that at this particular junction, especially given the constant commercial ballet that we find ourselves in, that we need to competently comprehend what you've been with me all along. Just pay them. Then deal with them after you've satisfied their reality being commerce and monetary. After you've satisfied that, then deal with anything else that comes along, but satisfy it first. Because we need to spend the majority of our time walking into the truth of our spirituality. The truth of our spirituality can matter for us what all of our academia is preventing us and disallowing us the time to involve ourselves in. So that's where I am with everything. Right now is focus on spiritual, diet, spiritual, the children, the old, helping each other transform, because what they want you to do is they want you to be dead. And how they got us to be dead is because our minds are diverted from truth and our minds are directed towards the intangible, things that aren't real. This is all nonsense, man. When the electricity goes off and the grocery stores are open up, you're going to realize that what's important to you and what's not important to you. And we need to bring ourselves back to a better place of peace and harmony and existing and focusing our energies on things that are important. In all this commercial activity and all this ballet that they've got us engaged in is all distraction. It's diversion to keep our energies away from our true purpose for being in this soul of plane, the plane of souls. So that's what I want to thank you. I want to tell everybody I love you. Much respect. I thank you from the first time I heard you on the talk show. What was that show?
Starving the System.
Yeah. And I have to tell everybody that I ain't studied as much as you, Yusuf, but I do a lot of studying. I do a lot of I cross a lot of stuff. I try to put my hands and my mind to as much stuff as I can. And I've never encountered anything or anybody that brought me anything that you hadn't already presented to me in one form, shape, or fashion. All right, so listen, I'm sitting here drafting up right now. I'm going to get in as soon as I can tomorrow, but I might be late. I might not make it.
Okay,
I don't know what's
cool.
going on when I get down to that schedule.
I got you. We got a guest going to be on Friday. And also, let me make a quick announcement to the everybody out there. Sherry Peel Jackson, you know, she's in that airing what's his name? I forgot his name. The director who made From Freedom to Fascism. She's an ex-IRS agent. I played her little clip yesterday. That's her at the beginning of yesterday's show. That's her clip. She's going to come on November 8th. So we're going to do a show with her. She's an ex-IRS agent, and she got some information that she wants to drop as well. So that should be a very, 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 very good show, you know. I was able to get her to agree to come on the show. And that's going to be on November 8th. Friday, we're going to have Gwen Wyckoff and Franco Zach. They do the Common Law Trust. That should be a very, very good show, too. So make sure that y'all tune in and catch those shows if you're interested in trust. And definitely on the 8th as well, catch that, because we're going to be dropping some real good inside knowledge. Some information.
Man, you do that thing. You were grabbing these guests. Hey, you know what, though? That is, what you said is true. The reason that we're under this commercial ballet is because we're visible. We need to privatize ourselves, and we need to put our everything, lottie-dottie, into trust and layers of trust.
You got to stop using that damn Social Security number. You got to stop. That Social Security number is tied to everything. You got to stop using it. You know, you got to get you a business entity and get your EIN number that's foreign. That's the reason you get a 98 number and operate through trust. You have to. That's what they do. That's what they do. Private and it comes down to public and private. Ain't nobody can come over here and tell me it's anything different. It's public and private. I'm sorry. Come on here. I can just break it down and show you it's public and private. Public, private, public, private, public, private. Nationality.
All right, I'm going to get out. Let's finish the show. I appreciate you, man. Love, respect.
Okay.
I can. Matter of fact, when you get done today, call me. I got something I got to tell you. All right.
Okay.
Peace.
All right. Peace. All right. Let me go down to Cali real quick. 562-3818. You're on High Frequency Radio. California. 562-3818.
Yes,
you, but yeah, I got you. What's going on?
All right. Yeah, you were talking about the Judiciary Act this morning, and what I was trying to get back to was the fact of the matter that the 20th chapter of the Judiciary Act is what requires the judges and clerks to have bonds.
Yes,
the 20th of that act is what requires them to have bonds. That was the first act of Congress that backed up the Treaty of Peace and Friendship to give validation to the commercial guarantees of international law.
That's correct, because that's commerce. When you come into an Article I court, it's commercial, and everybody has to be bonded. That's another thing I tell you. It's all about debt. You got to put your money where your mouth is. That's what really a bond is saying. Put your money where your mouth is.
When I went into the New Jersey courts, they were like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" I said, "Let's go to the Judiciary Act of 1789, where you get your authority from." And I said, "Let's look at Chapter 20, where it says that you're required to have an oath and a bond." And they were like, they couldn't answer me. They got quiet. But they were trying to tell me that the oath did not have to have a bond, and I was like, "That's not true."
That's not true. What they do is they keep the oath of office and the bond separate. You get the oath of office pretty easy. You can go down to the Secretary of State and get that, or they may have some custodian down at the courthouse that had that. But you got to hunt down that bond, and you usually got to do that through the risk management of whatever municipality that you're dealing with. You know, because the bond is just insurance. All bonds is just insurance. That's all it is. It's an insurance policy. And that's all it do. And like when you have a wreck with a judge, you go file a claim. Just like if you have your car and you have a wreck, you call your insurance company, you have a claim, and then you have to come and do a claim examination. It's the same thing with a judge. If you have evidence that there's an injury that's occurred because of something this judge has done, you go file a claim against his insurance policy. That's what it is. And if that insurance policy ain't enough, that's why you can ask a judge this question. You can say, "Your Honor, will your bond withstand the commercial liability that is being introduced into this courtroom today?" And watch how they ball up, because they in here talking a lot of you up there talking a lot of mess now. Can your bond cover all this? Because if your bond can't cover all this, then I guess I'm going to have to go get some of your private assets. I'm going to start looking to your house and your car, maybe your kids, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's all I wanted to bring to the table today, because when you were going in, I said, well, now how deep is he going to go into this? Is he going to get to the point that he's going to connect it up to, and I know the Moors talk about it, because that's who turned me on to it.
Well, the Judiciary Act just established a court system for the legislature. And as soon as you see that word act, that's the giveaway. I mean, and that's what most people, I don't think a lot of these guys understand. They don't understand separation of powers, and they don't understand delegation of authority. They don't understand how you can have an Article III judge sitting in an Article I courtroom. And how you can have that is because there's a delegation of powers going on. The legislature, they put together this act, and you see it in the Article 1, Section 8, Clause 9, and you see it on Article 3, Section 1, where it talks about these different courts. A court of Congress and a court of the Supreme Court. And you'll see they always use Supreme Court with a capital C, and they'll have the small c whenever they're referencing these territorial courts of the legislature. They're called territorial courts because they're there to adjudicate matters of insular possessions of the United States, which Congress is acting as the government of the United States. That's all it is. It's all about insular possessions. It's within the United States, without the United States, public and private. If you're public, you're within the United States. If you're private, you're without the United States. If you're public, you're at law. If you're private, you're in law. I mean, I can just go keep going on all over. This public and private, but they got a million different ways that they are saying it and how they write their words and all that, but it just all basically all comes down to public and private. You're either private or you're not.
I think also they thought that people would maintain a basic understanding, because it's also that same act that which says that a complaint shall not be dismissed for want of form. I'm not sure exactly where it says that in the act at the moment, but the end result of it is that is the act that guarantees that even if you don't have the wrong format, that you have an understanding of the complaint, that is the act that allows you to come in and argue your point.
Well, that's form versus substance, and it's the substance of the complaint has to address certain points too. Has to sit on certain points. You know what I'm saying? It has to be has to grant subject matter jurisdiction and all that too.
Right. I mean, you can't we're talking about apples, you can't bring in another fruit to talk about the subject of the apple. That's what we're saying here. But the thing is that it has to be relevant to the suit and germane, mostly, to support the argument.
That's correct. They got a legal term called, I haven't used this word in a long time, but let me look up. I think it's called four corners. Four corners rule. Four corners rule is the meaning of a written contract or deed or represented solely by its textual content. Yeah, y'all add that to your vocabulary. Four corners rule is the meaning of a written contract, will, or deed is represented solely by its textual content. This term may also be applicable to other legal instruments. Absent ambiguity, the party's intentions must be discerned from the four corners of the document, and extrinsic evidence may not be considered. It's about contract. So, four corners.
Four corners.
Yeah. Add that to your vocabulary.
Thank you, sir.
Let me make an announcement real quick. We got about 2 minutes left on the stream. If you are listening on the internet, you can call in at 424-222-5250. Once again, that is 424-222-5250 if you want to continue listening to the show. You can also Skype in. You'll see the Skype button up there. If you have Skype, which you should have downloaded by now if you listen to my show every day, you can get it on a smartphone too, and Skype in and listen to the show without interruption. If not, you can catch us in the archives. You can go to blogtalkradio.com/high frequency and catch all of our past shows. Once again, I will be conducting an online workshop tomorrow, a donation of $25. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be going over some of these administrative processes. I'm going to show you how to write up some documents, y'all, and answer your questions. So be sure to email me at highfrequencyblogtalk@gmail.com if you want to attend that. Tomorrow, once again, we're having Gwen Wyckoff and Frank Ozak. We're going to be discussing common law trust and their benefits. Good show lined up for you tomorrow. So, with that being said, you listen to High Frequency Radio. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. I got to get back to these calls now. Get these people on the phone. Let's see where we're going to go next. All right. We are going to dip down to the 313 area code. We're going to check out Michigan real quick. What's going on? You on High Frequency Radio?
Hey, brother. How's it going today?
What's going on, Bri? Chilling.
I'm good. Always a great show, of course. And the brother that does your show on Thursday, which is on.
Yeah, that's my co-host.
Yeah, he's a great brother, man. He's one of the first brothers that, I got a chance to kind of open my eyes on YouTube years back. And I just want to extend some appreciation to him and to you for having him,
No.
Yeah. So what I wanted to just speak on briefly was just the slave issue, because I'm frequently trying to figure out how, trying to piece together in my mind how they were able to legally get that slave, back in the day, the slave thing going. And it occurred to me as you were talking that, it's really basically the same thing. You get people who don't know the language and you contract them, And so, it's really no difference to me at this point from slavery back in the day and slavery now. I know it's about commerce and all of that, but when wasn't it about all that? So, and also, I know it's about the money, but like brother said, if you get somebody who doesn't understand the language, and you contract them under a language, then to me, that does constitute fraud. But that's
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let's say I take you to the top of a building and tell you to jump off, and you don't know about gravity, and you hit the ground. Whose fault is it?
It's my fault.
So ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yeah,
that's why they have that in law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
And that's understandable. Well, with your analogy, you said if I don't know about gravity.
Yeah, if I just go take you up to the top of a building and you don't know anything about gravity, that's the same, man. Just jump off the building, man. You're going to fly. And you just do it, and then you fall to your death.
And that makes sense if I don't know about gravity. But, I mean, I'm living in this world. It's a very low chance that I don't know about gravity. Now, if you take it to something more complex.
Hold on. Now we have to,
that's a great.
Hold on. Now we have to qualify that word complex. How do we determine what's complex? Complex for who? Complex for you or complex for me?
To me, determining what's complex is what is not readily apparent. When you're dealing with a bunch of
what is readily apparent?
That's what's readily apparent to me. If we're on the top of that building, is you will even see a baby that understands gravity. A baby won't even go to the side.
Okay, now hold on. Now what I did is I gave you grammar school, all right? Okay. And I told you what a proper noun was, and an adjective, and a pronoun, and a conjunction, and a verb, and a prepositional phrase, and I took you to school and taught you all of that stuff for 12 years. And then you come out in life, now you're talking about it's too complex. Whose fault is that?
Okay, no. I'm not saying that at this day and age that coming from what you were saying, and that made a lot of sense. I mean, it's right there for you to read. If you're educated, then you can read it. But back when they were bringing so-called slaves or slaves from wherever they were bringing them.
So you're saying
they hadn't been educated to that language?
Well, now we can get into. I mean, we can get into some esoteric conversation of how some of us, because all of us weren't in slavery, obviously.
Exactly. And I feel that. I understand that.
Yeah. So,
but I'm talking about those who were, even if we talk about the natives to this land, whether they,
Well, yeah. I'm gonna tell you what it was. You had one group of people who considered another group of people savages and beasts, and there's a lot of philosophers that used to talk about this. Is there such thing as a natural slave? And what determines a person's is a slave or not is a state of mind. You got some people out there who, for instance, like when Harriet Tubman was trying to save people, I mean, some people didn't need a plantation. They got, what I'm saying? Exactly. You got different types of slaves, it's like me, for me to go work at a job, I'll get sick. I get ill, you know what I'm saying? I start having convulsions and all type of shit. I got to get out of here. But that will happen to another person, you know what I'm saying? I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it, And so you had some people who wanted to get away. They chop off their foot, they run, let you chop off the other one. And then you had some, they just, even when the proclamation of, the Emancipation Proclamation came down and the 13th Amendment, they still, the 14th Amendment, they go nowhere. Master, he's a sick.
Exactly.
So you got. It is a mentality. It is the mind. The mind is the most powerful force in the universe. If your mind is of a subservient nature, then a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
True.
You have to understand that you can be anything that happens to you in life is your fault.
True.
If you're a slave, it's because you want to be a slave.
True.
That's all I got to say on that.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say on that.
I feel you.
That's all I got to say. But anyway, thank you, brother. I got a whole bunch of people their hands are pissed on me. Let me go back to the line.
Appreciate you.
Mute your phone. Just mute your phone. I'll leave your line open.
Okay.
I ain't gonna hang up on you. We're gonna go next. You want to jump in? You can jump in. You say, hey, I want to talk about that real quick. You want to jump in? You can jump in. We're gonna go right now down to. Gonna go to Cali real quick. Let's take a trip down to 661 area code 0240. You're on high frequency radio. 661. Hit your mute button. Going once, going twice. All right. Let me go to 443 area code 0862. You're on high frequency radio.
Peace. This is Miguel Mario, baby. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Everything good. Just listening to you and Brother Paul Savage. I wanted to comment on that, and I wanted to ask you about a book I found in the Goodwill. But
you found a book in the Goodwill?
Oh boy, yeah, man. I think I got a steal, man. I'm gonna tell you what it is right now. It's called West Business Law, Alternate UCC Comprehensive Edition. Huh?
Yeah, that's I got one of those myself. I'm always you'll find those pretty easy around. But yeah, get that with business, and they'll have all it'll tell you in the front how natural law, private law, public law, constitutional law, break down all the laws for you and everything.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like, and the student they were still seriously studying this book too. Like they were studying it. And it has examples of affidavits. I think it's a promissory note in here. Example. It's beautiful. Highlighted things like they were taking a test or something. But it's a good book. I just want to know if you heard of it.
Yeah, you got the UCC in the back of it, right?
Yeah,
all the UCC.
They got UCC. Yeah. Got all the UCCs in there. It's a pretty good book. I grabbed it yesterday in the Unabridged dictionary, so I made out. And yesterday is my birthday, my solar return, so I guess I'll some ass up.
Yeah, that's a definite grab to get. It was definitely something very good to get. The reason I even found out about it, the guy who mentored me, that's what he told me to go get. A Westlaw business book. When you hear me talk about this public and private, that's where he got it out of, one of those Westlaw business books.
Oh, good. Maybe I'll study it. Get up there where you at, big bro.
That's where he got it from. That's where he told me he got it. He said, I got all this out of a Westlaw business book. And as soon as I could, I got 3 of those. I got 3 different kinds right now. But I definitely had to go and get that and start studying it. It had the UCC in the back of it, all that stuff. It's good book. That's what they study in business school.
It's in pristine condition. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. It's like from 1990. It's a 4th edition.
I got it for a couple of dollars, didn't you?
Yeah, man, I got that, an unabridged dictionary, and a book called Who Moving My Cheese for $4.50, man. I got a $300 set of Oxford Unabridged dictionaries for $7. I couldn't believe it. I said, man, excellent condition, almost like brand new. Right. $7. That's why I be telling people. I say, go to Goodwill. I tell people, go in the nice neighborhood. The Goodwills would be in the rich people neighborhood, or something. But visit all of them, because you never know, because Goodwill got so many books that people turn into Goodwill. There's so many jewels in there that you just don't know. And the average person ain't going in there looking for a dictionary or no law book. You go in there, you'll see all kind of stuff. I'm like, man, look at this right here. I done found some jewels in these books. I don't even go to regular bookstores looking for stuff. And then you want to get the old stuff anyway. You know, it's like you looking for these old things. It's like you come across, it's like almost like a treasure hunt. But it'd be in there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Some of the sisters in there was working. I was like, let me show you something in the dictionary. And she was like, I've been here and seen this. I've seen some of these stuff in here. I said, all right, look at this. And I got the unabridged dictionary. Then I opened it up to the word nice. And she's saying that the word nice means stupid, lazy. She was like, what? 4 or 5 people in there. They were tripping, man. They was like, oh, my God. And she got her one. And she put one to the side for us. It was fun. It was fun. I wonder.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that goes to everybody out there listening. You know, you hit them Goodwills up. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. So I take my ass right in good. Every time I see a Goodwill, oh, Goodwill. Go in here and see if I can find me a book. I love it.
But with the issue of fraud, right? I mean, you have to differ a little bit. I'm kind of where Brother Paul Savage is with it. Your example you gave about real estate. Of course, I'm with you because I understand real estate. I study with real estate people or whatever.
Right.
But this is what I've been saying on the show. I've always said that it's only one industry and there's only one commodity, and that's ignorance. Every business transaction today, contrary to how it may have started, every type of transaction is, when you benefit, you're benefiting from somebody's ignorance. Whether you're catching a bus or taxi, you doing an insurance program or financial program, or you're getting a lawyer, or you buying a Snickers bar out of a 7-Eleven, you're benefiting, you're trading maybe, your Federal Reserve note for something you don't have the time for, or you don't have the intelligence or the resources to get or to produce yourself. That, by definition, that's ignorance. It's because you don't have the time for it. That's the admittance that you don't have the skill set to manage your time. That's ignorance. If you're borrowing resources, that's an admittance that you don't have the intelligence to develop your own resources. That's ignorance. Everything in commerce nowadays is ignorance. The commerce, the industry, and the commodity. All of it is ignorance. That's all that commerce is today. So let me interject real quick, and I'll let you continue. I remember Oliver Lee said with the trading, he said, all trading is you're looking for suckers. Yeah, that's it.
You're looking for suckers.
You're exactly right. That's exactly what happened. So I know that rubs people the wrong way as people being, and I'm in finances. I know exactly that language he's talking. I know that like the back of my hand. It may rub you the wrong way, but like you said, you got to take your feelings out of it. You have to understand the English language we're using is masculine and it's electric. It's not touchy-feely. It is directive. It is about getting things going from one place to another. That's what the language is. That's why I greet people in Latin, because it has a feminine there, and you can you have the feelings there, and like that's why they call it the love language, because it's the language of the Moors, or because love or of love is amor. So you got to know what you're doing, and in business, the English language that we use is a business language. So it's not about your feelings. You have to keep your feelings to the side. It don't have nothing to do with your feelings. So the example that you gave is accurate, and I'm with you. I'm with it. But I'm from the set. I know universal law. Again, everything is standing and static. If I know I'm sitting with somebody that does not know finances, that doesn't know it as well as I do, I know I'm going to have to deal with that part. So that's not a proper consideration, because it's like you were saying about jurisdiction with the state. If I get the driver's license or I get any one of these licenses, it's an admittance of jurisdiction. Well, maybe I'm thinking, so, in the contract, there has to be consideration. There always has to be a consideration. So if I'm going to do a performance, they have a duty to do X, and Y. I don't really feel like you're giving them jurisdiction. I just feel like, looking at it and understanding and studying it, it looks to me that there's a level of consideration that has to be considered on their part, and they have a duty too, because you have a right to commerce. Wherever there's a right, there's a duty. So by you having a right to, start a cab company, whatever it is you want to do, they have an obligation to secure that, i.e. an assurance, i.e. a bond, all those things are correct, because I just got another insurance, or got another insurance license, and insurance is bonds. That's all it is. Actually, the whole commerce is bonds, because people are ignorant, and every commercial transaction is based off ignorance, and people are ignorant, so you know you're going to have losses, so it has to be backed by something. It's all the same conversation. Can't talk commerce without talking insurance, because all commerce is a transaction of ignorant people. So it's So what I'm saying is it's fraud to a degree, but it's excusable. If we can come together on that, it's an excusable level of fraud. That's why they've been getting away with it. And I think that justifies why they've been getting away with fraud, because it is fraud, because it is non-disclosure. It is you don't have two competent parties, so it's an invalid contract. But we understand, again, these little nuances you got to understand is that the contract is the performance. The writ that you have, or the piece of paper that you have, is just a brief. It's a brief, because there's a lot of things in the contract that's going to happen that's not stipulated in the contract, just like the Constitution. You got more rights than you think you have, or than what the Bill of Rights says or the Constitution says. You have way more rights than that. You don't have no damn just 10. It's infinite. You have a ridiculous amount of rights. So you got to understand these little nuances as you learn things, so you know what's fraud and what's not fraud.
I agree. I agree.
I think y'all both. I mean, I'm with it. I feel like you know what they know what they're doing. You know, they out to get them shekels.
They're trying to get. We're making a lot of shekels. I mean, we're going to destroy the world, but we're going to make a lot of shekels. It tripped me out. Everything came back to shekels. But we're making a lot of shekels. Let me go to the line real quick. Now, I'm going to bring in another caller. Let me bring in some more people. I'm going to leave your line open. Mic's open. 317-8669. You're on High Frequency Radio.
Islam, peace.
Islam, what's going on?
How you brothers doing today, man?
Good.
Very good.
I was just inquiring about a P.O. box. Like, I understand you're talking about public and private, and, a will. You got on the topic of a will at one point earlier in the call, and that brought me to thinking about the Foreign Grantors Trust.
And, so what's your question related to it?
Like when you're doing affidavits and documents and stuff like that, and trying to privatize yourself, is getting a P.O. box like essential to,
Yes, it is, and it's also, let me tell you something about the thing. It's very good questions that you're asking, and it is essential that you get that P.O. box does not lead back to you. That is a part of your privacy. I'm not going to discuss it on the air, but just know that P.O. box don't need to lead back to you, because you're compromising your privacy with that P.O. box as well. When you get a foreign grantor trust, that the trustee nor the beneficiary can be a U.S. citizen, meaning you don't need to have anybody associated. No social security numbers need to show up nowhere, or it's no longer a foreign grantor trust. So that's all I have to. So these two things I just told you right now both have to do with privacy.
Right.
They have to do with privacy. So that's all I can say on that right there. Especially
okay, brother. Okay, brother. I appreciate your call, your information, man. I'm going to get on off here and let you get to some other callers.
Okay, man. All right. Appreciate it. All right, let me go to one. Somebody got the phone muted out, but I'm bringing you in. One. Who's muted out?
Is that me?
Yeah, that's you. What's going on?
What's up? I wanted to, you had mentioned earlier in the show about the I think the wagering process of exchange of commerce as of everything is prepaid. I'm just in that process right now, just studying, and you find out that even if you don't contract, you still contracting actually, right? When everything is prepaid, and they're doing their work, because they're actually placing a lien on you, on the property of the sovereign, right?
Well, what they're doing, they are everything is creditor and debtor. Everything is all inter-exchange between individuals is commerce, is contract, and that's what they're doing. In contract, they don't have. If you enter into a contract, there can be no money. But if you contract to do something, you have to honor the contract. So they know that there's not any money, but they still will enter into a contract with you because they know that you don't know. So they really
I'm talking about like on the accounting part, like in the corporation part. See, like everybody actually, when you get into that, like when you said earlier, you say everything is prepaid even the corporation. You see what I'm saying? They do these wagering bets on liens against, the jury person. You see what I'm saying? I'm just getting in the process of studying, but it was interesting that you had mentioned that earlier about this prepaid thing, because the process here, a lot of people don't even understand that, man. It goes even deeper, like into, you already got a lien on you just by them getting money off of you. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
That's right.
If you really look at the wagering, because they make you pay double actually, but that's how they generate the money, because they can't get to the account. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. They need your signature. They need your signature.
Yeah, exactly. But so see, the corporation already took the bid. You see what I mean? They already got paid. That's why see, I'm just actually, just getting into this thing, because I got to look at it, on the trust side too. Because when you get into the trust, you're looking at being your own fiduciary. And then, but when you look at that's just like when they say you create the loan, where it's already paid for, that means that actually back spending dollars already been counted, but somebody else is actually counting it. You see what I'm saying? And using it. If it's already prepaid, even your utility, when you look at it like that. But when you really look at the prepaid, everybody actually have a lien on them already, and they actually is already in commerce. That's how you are forced into commerce when they actually put your bond up, to wage to offer others. Even just on your birth certificate, that's all of it plays in the same place as when you said prepay. All that goes like into the same play on the accountant side. You see, of the process with all these corporations, just like wars.
You know what? You should study this word called maritime lien. It's called a maritime lien, which is a secret lien. You're right. They already have liens on us. But you should study that. And that's going to lead you in a direction, because you'll see what the maritime lien is for. It's for these necessaries and these services that they are providing for us. These are our public servants, and they're providing a service for us. So it's like they trustees, and they got a lien against the trust estate for the payment of their services. And this is kind of what's going on. The more you study trust law, and I'm so happy to see so many people actually, it's just a wonderful thing when so many people have an interest in law and trust. I mean, you got people, in our neighborhoods now, we throwing around words like trust and, all these liens and all these different things like it ain't nothing now. But that's definitely something you want to check out is maritime lien. It's called a maritime lien. That's the type of lien that they got against us. Well, I don't know. I guess people would argue an agricultural lien.
Just want to throw that out there. Since you mentioned it,
I think
it really kind of, I think it should just, it's just a whole new side of the discussion when you even said it. But, it's good to hear. Thanks a lot. Good show.
Hey, man, thank you. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. What we got next in queue? Okay, I'm going to the 314 area code, Missouri, on High Frequency Radio.
How you doing?
All right, great.
First time caller, first time listener. Well, my first time listening was Monday, and I've been hooked ever since. I want to know how can I declare my sovereignty or privatize myself?
Well, I do classes on that, but here's the thing about it. You are already sovereign. You already have a nationality, all right? All you're going to do is put these people on notice and get your make them aware that you are competent to handle your commercial affairs. Because as you can see, everything we're dealing on this show talks about commerce. And I know people talk about nationality and all that, and that is important. I'm not saying that's not important. It definitely is important to have a nationality, a Moorish nationality. That is important. And I don't want to minimize that. I don't want people to confuse on that because we not black people. That ain't no country called black. And all these other names and labels that they're trying to put on us. We definitely have to have a nationality. However, when you look at the system, how it operates, it is a business enterprise. It is commercial. And it is about claims. Everybody always asks you, what are you claiming? When you deal with the IRS and you fill out IRS forms, that's the first question they ask you, what are you claiming? When you go to court and you're having a battle in court, they ask you, what are you claiming? Everybody wants to know, what are you claiming? No one ever tells you what to claim. So you can claim whatever you want to claim. Now, can you substantiate that claim? That's another matter. But you can claim whatever you want to claim. So in going about doing that, my co-host actually handles the nationality part, or declaring your Moorish nationality with the United Nations and all these different things. I deal with private banking because it's not so much that you are declaring something in commerce. It is more so you demonstrating something in commerce. You are demonstrating that you are competent enough to handle your commercial affairs. You know what you are doing. You understand what it means to be a private banker. You are aware that all of the commercial energy is being derived from your person. So these, this is kind of what this is about. It's not, I don't get into no sovereignty things. People just be using sovereignties, and we are sovereigns. You're a lot of attorneys, they like to frown on that word sovereign and everything. You go to any law library, get on the computer, type in sovereign, and you go all the way back to 1900 and say the American people are sovereign. In a million different places, okay? So we are sovereign. But sovereignty, so is the United States government. They are sovereign. The legislature is sovereign within their jurisdiction. So what we're doing is you have to let this corporate body understand that you are without their jurisdiction. You're outside of their authority, that you are not desirous to partake of any of their benefits and privileges that they have to offer, that you are a man capable of doing things for yourself. This is what this is all about. This is all about taking responsibility. This is not about just filling out paperwork. This is what I say. Really, to me, there's only two statuses, consumer and producer. Because you can do all this paperwork, but if you're still a consumer, you're still going to have to go to them.
Right.
You're still going to have to go to them. You know what I'm saying? If you're a consumer, what you're saying is you want to be a producer. And this is also, and they will honor you for that. That's why they have humanitarian projects. They're waiting for some people to wake up and understand who they are and have some type of desire to produce something for humanity. They're waiting for that.
I see. Okay, so you had said that in their courtroom that they see me, for example, as public and not private, right?
There's a word in the law dictionary called public figure. Mm-hmm. Write that word down. It's called public figure. And when you look that word up, you'll see that one part of it says anyone who voluntarily participates in a public controversy. When you go into court, when it tells you in the Bible in Matthew 5:25, agree with your adversary while you're on the way to court with him, lest he hand you over to the judge hand you over to the bailiff casts you into prison, and you're not going to come out till you pay the last penny. That's Matthew 25 and 26. That's your rules to the game right there. You have to reach some sort of agreement with this person before you get to court, and you're going to do that privately. But if you go into court arguing, talking about, that's not me on the paper, you don't have no jurisdiction over me, I'm going to make you prove your claim, that is called a traverse. Now, these are fictitious charges. They can't substantiate anything. They're colorable.
Okay.
They're colorable claims. All right? So they don't have any substance to them in the first place. So why would you give credence to something that doesn't have any substance? So you want to take care of these things. They're making these colorable claims in order to generate revenue. And what you want to do is you do not want to alert the public. You want to handle this privately before you get to court. Because once it comes into court, it becomes a public controversy.
I see. Interesting. Okay.
Matter of fact, I'm doing a class tomorrow night, a workshop at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's only $25 donation. It's inexpensive. You can email me at highfrequencyblogtalk@gmail.com. That's highfrequencyblogtalk@gmail.com. And I'm going to go over all of this, and you'll get to see, you get the hands-on. It's going to be invaluable training. For those who don't know, I'm going to put y'all in the game. I'm going to put you in the game, y'all.
Okay, high-frequency blog talk radio.
At gmail.com. Yep.
Okay. Tune in.
All right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, brother, for calling in. Appreciate it. Let me get peace to the gods. Let me get back to these phone lines. You see where we at. I am going to go to. Let's see what we got next. I think I'm going to dip down to, we got a brother holding in New York again. We'll go back up to New York again. 718 area code, 0885, New York, big city of dreams. What's happening?
What's up, brother, man?
What's going on?
I was in your weekend class. This is Tom Malik.
Okay.
First question, did you get the Dr. Malachi books in the Dropbox?
I sure did. Sure did.
Did you copy it all? Because I'm going to take it down.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's cool.
All right. The second question is, I was trying to do the first video to see if I could get back into GoTo meeting, and I couldn't do it because I have a Mac.
You have a Mac? I'm going to have to look at it and see what it does for Mac. But Mac usually, because you got to just download GoToMeeting on your computer.
Yeah, I have it on my computer, but, when I go to that particular class that was Saturday, I can't get in because it's asking for the administrator or creator of the class to log in. So I think you have to provide me a link or something to get into GoToMeeting so I can watch the video again.
Okay. All right. I'll do that for you. It's not
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm
It's
not too
problem.
sure how it works, but I'm thinking that's what you might have to do.
Okay. All right. I'll do it when we get through with the show. I'll look into it. I'll make sure you get in.
You get in. And the other thing is, so for all my brothers and sisters that live in D.C., there's basically nothing they can do unless they leave the 10 square miles.
That's
right?
an interesting question that comes up, that the people in D.C., they literally are really U.S. citizens. But,
right.
I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it still doesn't matter, because in commerce, we're dealing with commerce, and you're still a Moor. You still can declare your nationality. I don't think that that's going to make a big of a difference, because it's business that's being conducted. And everybody across the nation has an exemption, and everybody across the nation has his birthright. You have birth certificates and things of that nature. So it doesn't interrupt commerce. So, you know, all you're doing, like the way I teach things, I don't teach things in the form of they are the enemy. You know,
right.
I don't
right.
teach them as the enemy. I teach them that, okay, you know, you're not trying to be an enemy of the state. I'm trying to work with the United States. So, you know, that's the mindset I want to put people in. So it's not like we're adverse to these people or anything like that. You're just learning how to work within the system. And I've been accused of that. They say, oh, you're teaching people how to work in the system. We need to get out of the system. I'm like, okay. My feeling on that is this. I am with getting out of the system, all right? If our people can demonstrate that, number one, they can come together.
True.
They can work together, all right? Number two, they can be producers and produce something that we can come together on and go to.
Right.
But while we just sitting around talking and things like that, I'm going to deal with reality. The reality of the situation is these people have taken over the world. Let me not say the country. Yeah. They've already taken over the world. Don't say they're going to take over the world. They have already taken over the world, all right? I don't see 100% complete evil in the system. I think the system is neutral. I think it's the people who are operating the system that we have who are good and evil. I don't think the system is evil in itself. The system is you see what I'm saying? So
I think a lot of it is us too, because we haven't, like, I remember watching the show, you know, swapping the housewives thing. You ever seen that or heard about that?
I haven't heard it, no.
There was a show, I don't know if it's still on, where they would swap wives. And one interesting episode that I happened to catch was this white woman moved into a black home. They didn't have a lot of money. And at the end of the show, the rich family gives $50,000 to the poor family. But they have the right to disseminate it. It's kind of like a will, and the beneficiary has no say in how they use the money. So this woman gave allotted, I think, $5,000 to give money to her congressman. And she said that this is going to help you more than you'll ever realize. And the black woman was pissed off. She's like, I could have used that $5,000 to pay my bills, da-da-da-da-da. But when I watched it, I realized, I said, she's teaching a very valuable lesson, which is if you supply your local politicians with some funds, they'll listen to what you got to say. Because the white woman was saying she noticed that the lights didn't come on at a certain time in the area, so it was really dark, and then there was potholes all over the place. And I was like, wow, she really just schooled everybody on the game. And this black family, they had no clue as to what she was demonstrating. So I thought that what you were saying is very true.
It was a video on YouTube. I think it's called Whitewashed America or something. I played the audio of it on my show. Yeah. And in there was a section in there where one of the young ladies, she said that blacks do not she said white people, they expect to be listened to. Yeah. She said she don't think that's in the black community. She said we expect police to come when we call.
Yeah, we know we got rights. We know our politicians are going to listen to us. She said, you don't have that in the black community. And she said, you don't think they know how, you know, or what their rights are. I mean, it was really, I mean, it was a very, very, it wasn't anything offensive. They were just being very honest and forthcoming and just saying it like it was. It wasn't offensive at all. It was like, look, this is what it is.
Right. Okay, and the final question I have is, as a mindset, should we just be called, instead of saying we're private, as the mindset should be private banker? What's your opinion on that?
You can say that. If somebody asks you, you know, what is your occupation, you say, I'm a private banker. I mean, that's a private banker. That is exactly what you are. But you want to keep your affairs private. You don't want to answer. When you're private, you only answer questions if they are there. You only answer questions if it's going to help you.
I got you. And I remember we talked about, you know, because I was doing the music thing, and, you know, that's part of my nature. So, like, to go private and not be a public figure or someone who helps people make music, could you, like, kind of repeat that again, or what's your on that? What's your opinion on that again?
Well, I think you should use a pseudonym, you know, and then, I mean, that's fine. That's not a problem. People maintain their privacy, you know, doing that all the time. You know, they got CPN numbers, which are credit privacy numbers.
Did you say CPM numbers?
For stars. Yeah, CPN numbers and things like that. Get that. So, you know, so you have a privacy or operate through a trust. I recommend operating through a trust. And then get you a pseudo name and operate through that name. You can do your business. It's all about knowing how to do business through these entities. You're utilizing an entity already. You just don't know it. Everybody out there has a corporation already. They just don't know it.
Right.
They just don't know it, you know.
So should I just take control of that entity and copyright it and I could do it that way, or should I just make a totally different alias?
I would do a whole different entity through a trust and operate through a trust. That's just my preference. Don't even use their Social Security numbers or nothing like that. People talking about taking control of it and all that stuff. Now you want to create an entire separate entity because it's all about, remember, this is business. I'm talking about business because I know I got people out there listening. I'm talking about business. How you handle your business. All business is conducted through an artificial entity in the public. Some type of artificial entity. So if you want to interact with the public from the private, you need to do that through a trust.
I actually have an EIN number, but it's from a proprietorship, and I'm pretty sure it's different from my social. I shouldn't be using. I should just incorporate and get an EIN from a corporation. Correct?
You can do that. Yeah, definitely do that, and you definitely want to get a trust, and you get a number for your trust out of Philadelphia. That's private. That's what they do. What's called foreign trusts. They call them foreign. All right. Which is just saying privacy too. Private trust.
All right. All right, man. Appreciate you, man. Got to go on to the plantation now. Thanks a lot.
All right, brother.
All right.
Okay. Peace. All right. Let's go to. We're going to dip to the. Let's go over to Maryland real quick. 41 area code 7145. You're on High Frequency Radio.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on?
Hey, this Siege is from Facebook, man.
Hey, what's happening?
What's going on? I never got to call you and talk to you the other day. I was trying to get through the line, but it was jammed up. But I sent that. I read that book. Dissolve Your Debt, and I followed the steps that they had in there. I was just curious to know if that process really worked, the A4V process, because I sent the stuff off like maybe a week ago.
Wait a minute. What's the name of the book you read?
Dissolve Your Debt.
Dissolve Your Debt? I've never heard that book. Dissolve Your Debt. What does it talk about?
basically just how you write the 45-degree angle across the presentment.
Okay.
And then you send it to
V.
the yeah.
Okay. Let me talk about A for V for a second. All right. A for V is legitimate. It's the enforcement that people are having trouble with. And that's why I talk about the building equity and things of that nature. Now you have to document everything properly and follow it all the way through to completion. All right? And what you ultimately want to do is you really want to get you an account through the DTC and go completely private and do all this stuff in the private and just disappear. Because really the way that everybody is doing it is kind of like the in my opinion, a bootleg way of doing things, because there's not no real sophistication or anything involved in it, so large numbers of people can do it. But is it legitimate? Yes, it's legitimate because it's a banker's acceptance. That's what the 45-degree angle is all about. You are a private banker. There is no money. Your signature does constitute credit. They can't offset the account. Yeah, all that. But the entities that we are engaging with this are doing what's called commercia belli against you, which means commercial war, which they are really just in essence trying to keep people slaves. I mean, that's really what it is at the end of the day. I mean, because if they let you do this process, you're going to be free. And they have a vested interest in not allowing you to get free. So you have to fight for your rights. You got to fight for your freedom. And that's going to require you to be educated enough to know where these people can't deceive you, that you have entitlement to remedy and you know what those remedies are, and that the court has to give you those things. So your question, does this work? I did a whole show devoted to does this work? As a matter of fact, in my archives, I got a show labeled Does It Work? And yes, it works, and no, it doesn't work. It depends on the individual. It depends on your level of knowledge and expertise. It depends on your fortitude, your perseverance. You know, it depends on, what it is. Are they going to fight you too? If it's a $2 million house, they're probably going to fight you tooth and nail for it. You know what I'm saying? And it's all about procedures. Everything is procedural now, and everything is in equity. So that necessitates there be some type of procedure to demonstrate good faith and clean hands. And that's what the administrative process is all about. And then you can probably petition these commercial courts, because they're commercial courts. You're supposed to be able to go in a commercial court and get a remedy, So it's just all about doing the process privately and keeping it private. That's what's important.
That's what I'm trying to do now. I want to have a private trust because I wanted to open up a business, but I want, from here on out, I want everything to be under my trust. I don't want to use my Social Security number or anything like that no more. I just need, I'm new to this, so I'm just, trying to figure out where do I start and how do I go from there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Come to the class tomorrow. We're doing a workshop tomorrow. 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Email me at highfrequencyblogtalk@gmail.com, and I'm going to do a webinar online, and we're going to do all this stuff. We'll go through all of it.
Okay. I'll do that, definitely.
All right?
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, peace.
All right.
Hey, Yusef.
All right.
Yusef.
Yeah, I'm here.
Am I still on?
Yeah, you still on?
Yeah. All right, just now, you said they're operating with commercial war.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
You said they're working with commercial warfare. Now, back in the day, part of the Jesuits, you understand, or the Jesuits were from, it was from that, rabbi, they're in that same group. Now, I bring that up for this specific reason, to find out, to look at the backing of what type of warfare they're running on after. And you said earlier the maritime lean that they have. The maritime lean that they have, if you put those things together that I just said, they have a lean against the Goyim. You have to lean against the Goyim, so it's what we call the Jews, or what we call the Jews that are doing it. Now, I bring all that up to put it in perspective of what's going on, because I'm really looking at this ecclesiastical position related to commerce. Because if you look at how they operate, and you look at how the Catholics operate, they put all their belongings is related to to the church or to the synagogue or to their religion. You know what I'm saying? And it may sound weird in the beginning, like it's some pious position, but it's really like, if I devote some of my personal property to I guess that ecclesiastical, which is a trust. Almost all of them are trust, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm putting all those things there, okay, at the end of the day, I'm still the person that has access to it. I'm still the only person that put it up there. So if like when you have we come from the same church and we have a little debate. You know, you like, well, I want access to that thing. Well, I'm the only person that put it in. What you got? And that we'll have it. That's a conversation of status and standing. It's like, all right, we got the same status and standing, but with the contract, like I put my information and I put my property in this. You know, the church got it through me, so I'm the person that has the main or priority interest in it. So I think the ecclesiastical position needs to be incorporated in our commercial process. That's what I'm working with a little bit more.
Yes, it does. A lot of people use the religious trust on top of a lot of things that they're doing. You know, that's what Aurora Diaz. I don't know if you've been listening to my show that long. I know you've been listening. But way back, some months back in March and April, I did a show with Aurora Diaz, and that's what she does. And people would be wise to go back and listen to her show because she is a trust expert for real on these trusts. She knows us stuff inside and out with those religious trusts.
And I link that because I'm trying to figure out the same thing you trying to figure out. How can we do group economics? Well, that's exactly how. Through the ecclesiastical position. That's what they've been doing. Yeah, that's what the Koreans are doing. That's the way. But it always because I'm dead. Go ahead.
You touched on something. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. I'm aware of all of that. I mean, when you said it, you said they got a lien on it. It's what it is. In the Bible, they call them bond servants. And that's what we are. We're bond servants. That lien is a bond. It's a debt.
So I'm looking at that's the position. That's the direction, and I think if we learn how to perfect that, we'll solve a lot of issues. I think it already exists. What do we need to do? We just need to be more cognizant of it, and we all need to come to that position. So we got to come that can agree that let us perfect it, and then everybody else will come after that.
Good. Hey y'all, that is it. I'm out of time. Thank you for listening to High Frequency Radio. As y'all heard earlier today, I will be on tomorrow and everything because, my co-host, he has to do some things. So I will be on tomorrow, same time. We can get to it again. And I will see all of y'all tomorrow, okay?